What is going on, everybody? It's your boys from odds.com and Odds HQ, and it is the final weigh-in. We've got UFC Vegas 12, Uriah Hall squaring off against the legend, Anderson Silva. Should be a great event, a great card, a lot of solid betting spots, little chalky, but we're going to get it figured out. Let me throw it to my guys and see how everybody's doing. MMA Prediction Guru, what's up, dude?
Yeah, man, it's another interesting card. I mean, on Halloween too. It's kind of a bittersweet card with Anderson retiring and all that. But it's weird. I mean, this week he's been talking about how it's like maybe he won't retire. So who knows? But yeah, I think it's a good card and should be fun to break down. Like you said, it's a lot of chalky spots, but I think there's a couple underdogs in there that you could play potentially as well.
There you go. Cody Saftik, let them know how you're doing on a Friday night.
Doing very good and getting ready for a very spooky card that features a 45-year-old Silva. How spooky it is getting that. And we've also seen Anderson with just crazy moments, both good and bad in his career. So getting ready for another one and getting ready to break down what could be the last dance for the original GOAT. As you can see, I'm still rocking my beard for the current GOAT, one Khabib Nurmagomedov. But it's cool to talk about the OG legend, Anderson Silva, who once held that mantle very proudly.
No doubt. A real missed opportunity here. We're not going to have the crowd's not going to be full of costumed UFC freaks. So too bad. We swung and missed on that one. But we got a new guy tonight. Let me throw it to my man, MMA LOTN, MMA Lock of the Night. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you guys hitting me up. Shout out to Bleed. Shout out to Clint from Die Hard MMA Podcast. And shout out to Cynthia as well for giving me this opportunity to fill in some pretty big shoes that's been left behind. But I hope to do my best and give you guys the best analysis that I can. But yeah, got a great group of guys here. I know Cody already. I can throw a stone out my window. I could probably hit him in the head. Guru, I know I've been following him for a while now too. And Just Bleed, you guys have been killing it. So I'm looking forward to this new journey with odds. And I hope I can bring some energy and some positive analysis for you guys to help make some money for this upcoming weekend.
No doubt. Well, I tell you what, man, this is your debut. Why don't you start us off tonight? We've got Miles Johns going up against Kevin Natividad. Let us know what you're thinking, Locke.
All right, so the odds have been kind of getting closer and closer as the week has been going on. We got minus 150 now on Miles Johns. When I recorded my own breakdown for this fight, we had roughly around minus 190 for Miles Johns, and it's making sense as to why there's money coming in on Kevin Natividad. I'm still on the Miles Johns side, though. But with that said, I'm not super confident in terms of even betting him here. Maybe even if we got pick'em line, I probably wouldn't even be confident in betting him there either. Strong wrestling, we obviously know about that. Obviously lost his last fight last time against Mario Bautista. And I think it was really the range in that fight that really screwed him up. Having to deal with that, the length advantage that Mario Bautista had there. It was a little bit harder for him to really get in and land those like blitzing shots that he's known for doing. And then obviously his wrestling, he couldn't really get that going either. I think he's going to have a little bit more success fighting a guy that's roughly around his size here against Kevin Natividad. I got a lot of shit on Kevin Natividad, not properly breaking him down in my own breakdown, but I still don't see anything that really jumps off the page about this guy. You know what I mean? He has a 9-second knockout on his record. Didn't really get to see him truly flush out that fight to see how we would have really done. But I like Miles Johns here. Like, I think he'll be able to maybe not necessarily get the fight to the ground, but like in those scrappy clinch positions, he'll probably get the better of those. Probably the stronger guy as well too. I think he needs to be a little bit sketchy regarding his cardio itself, because I have seen him slow down in past fights, and I feel like Natividad is the kind of guy that could actually get you out of there in the third round, but I don't think that's a high likelihood of happening. I do like Miles Johns here. I think he gets it done by decision, but just something seems off here. It's his first ever career loss he's coming off of, so let's see how he bounces back. Save Sayoud's in his corner. I love those guys at Forest MMA. They're an amazing camp. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of Miles Johns we get rebounding from his first loss. I think he wins, but not confident enough to lay any money on him here.
There you go. Guru, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah. Like you said, this is a close fight, and I agree with the line movement. I think it should have been open like closer to a pick'em, And the thing is about this fight is I feel like on the feet, it's pretty close, but I'm just not a big fan of Miles Johns striking. I feel like Natividad is a lot more fluid. Better head movement. He's going to be the one coming forward, in my opinion. Miles Johns, he kind of just throws like big overhands, tries to get you against the cage, take you down. And Natividad, he's a pretty good scrambler. He's a brown belt himself in jiu-jitsu, decent wrestler. And just the big thing to me that the difference in the fight is just the cardio, like MMA Lock of the Night said, because you've seen, Miles Johns get tired in both of his UFC fights and other fights as well. And I just feel like Natividad does push, high of enough pace to get him tired. I feel like he's going to make him work to take him down. If he does get him down, scramble, be able to get back up to his feet. And so I'm just going to go with Kevin Natividad in a close decision, kind of just edging it out with the cardio advantage and the volume on the feet. But now that the line's a lot closer, I feel like maybe it's just a pass at that line. When it opened, I feel like there was value on Natividad at that point, though. But right now, I'd probably just pass at the current line.
Understandable. Cody Safdie, how do you feel about this one, man?
Yeah, I agree. I think people are hard pressed to get a good lean on either side. So when it opens up and you've got good dog money on one person, you kind of think to yourself, you know what? Why not just ride the underdog? And that's Natividad. But now that the line's getting closer, I personally got to go with Johns as well. I just think that maybe he's going to make this a close fight and be able to grind out a close decision. If it's going to be close, why not just go with the value side? And I do see a lot of merit to Natividad. Like Guru said, he's a BJJ brown belt, but also out of Arizona Combat Sports. The guy's actually not too bad with his wrestling. Johns, for as good of a wrestler he is, he almost does struggle with his takedowns a lot, especially holding guys down. So I don't know that that's going to be his avenue to victory right away. If this ends up being a striking fight, even though he's got a 1-inch height advantage, he's giving up 4 inches in the reach department. And I also think that he won't be the aggressor. So it just depends kind of what the judges are looking at. If this is in Abu Dhabi, I'm almost definitely not taking Miles John because they don't seem to score the wrestling, couple takedowns here and there. They're mostly going with that advanced pressure and significant shots landed, which I expect Natividad to have. In Vegas, you know what? It's anybody's guess. I mean, are they going to go with John's landing a couple of good shots? We saw him on the Contender Series look tired against Richie Santiago, but I mean, knocked down, 80 significant strikes landed, multiple takedowns. It was a high-pressured fight. He's also got a win over Adrian Yanez, we'll talk about later. And again, it's a 5-round fight, LFA. It didn't seem like cardio was a problem in those fights. It's just since you've seen him in the UFC, he's been knocked out. And his debut against Cole, he did look fatigued in that fight a little bit. He's only 26 years old. I expect him to get a little bit better. I would say close fight, close decision, Miles John, but I'm probably leaning towards a pass on this fight overall.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, man, I feel the same way. Like, to me, the craziest part about this fight really was the opening lines we got. All of us sound like we thought this fight should have been lined tremendously closer. If you got Natividad at that plus 175, man, more power to you. That's probably a very high value bet. Hard to be mad at that. I think this fight should be probably about a pick 'em, but at the same time, I take everything into account. I do feel like Miles Johns has had the much higher level of competition. He's got the slightly more impressive resume. Natividad, quite a few cans involved, but nonetheless, he's been very good. Unfortunately, he did get that big KO very quickly in a fight against a guy who isn't very good if we're just keeping it short and sweet. But all things said, when I think about this fight, I lean ever so slightly to Miles Johns. But like I said, if you got that good plus money on Natividad, more power to you, probably a good bet. So second fight of the night, we've got Dustin Jacoby going up against Justin Ledet. Guru, can you kick us off on this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. I mean, Justin Ledet, he's kind of on a skid now, 3 in a row. So I feel like the UFC does want Dustin Jacoby to come in here and get a win because stylistically, when you look at Justin Ledet too, he's kind of a boxer. He has a good jab. And at heavyweight, I mean, he was really pretty fast. He was able to kind of use that jab and coast to decisions, has a pretty good check left hook. And he was competitive with Alexa Kamor in his last fight. Some people, argue he could win the fight. I thought that he lost, but in this fight, I mean, I do feel like Jacoby is, the better striker. He, has fought in glory, things like that, but he does get tired in fights. And I am a little bit worried about that third round with Jacoby. But, people are talking about Justin Ledet's grappling. I'm not sure he's going to be able to take him down, man. I just don't think he's like an explosive wrestler. I don't think he has a fast level change. So he took down like Mark Godbeer in the UFC, but I don't think Mark Godbeer is a UFC level guy. And even Mark Godbeer probably could have got up and he went for a leg lock and got his back taken, got submitted. I don't think Jacoby's going to be going for leg locks if he gets taken down, things like that. So I feel like Jacoby probably should win the fight. He's the better striker. He's probably going to put more damage on Ledet, have the better shots. And I think he could chop down his leg with the low kicks, but it's kind of a sketchy fight with Jacoby, man. I don't really trust him 100%, but I think he should probably get it done.
Cody Safdie, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, it just almost seems like there's just way too much money on Jacoby right now. The actually fight opened up at minus 170, Dustin Jacoby. And at that price point, you're definitely going to go with the more polished former Glory kickboxing veteran. He's just got a better stand-up game, I think, altogether for MMA. As Guru mentioned, his takedown defense chalks up, bad at a better camp. Cardio, I believe, is an issue, but again, it's because he exerts himself for a lot of these finishes. Even in his kickboxing career, he just kind of goes out for that finish a little too quick. That's going to be a problem against Justin Ledet because he's super durable. So I agree that there's definitely a scenario where Dustin Jacoby gets a little overzealous, goes out there, blows the tank within the first 2 rounds, wins the first 2 rounds. But at that point, it just comes down to, is Justin Ledet going to knock him out? And that I'm not so sure. Like, yeah, he's got a good jab, but jabs are just not generating power. He hasn't actually knocked out an opponent since 2012. And that's when he was fighting low-level guys on the regional scene. So if he's down 2 rounds going into the third, I don't know that a good Justin Ledet landing, on Dustin Jacoby is enough to knock him out. I'm just not so sure. But again, now that Jacoby's gone all the way to minus 370, now you start to worry that the problem with Jacoby is that when he had his first go around in the UFC way back when, he just wasn't ready. He didn't have the striking skills. He didn't have the wrestling skills. He just wasn't really at that level. He got released from the UFC, goes to Glory, and right away, he was just a can opponent in Glory. But he stuck around, and he got better, and he won this contract that allowed him to train in the Netherlands for a year. And then he started getting some fights, and then he started getting a little bit better. But when he would drop back to MMA, it wasn't like he was a standout. He actually signed to Bellator, again, fanned out of that promotion as well. He won his last fight against Cody East, but it was at heavyweight. And now you see him on Contender Series, and listen, he looked okay on Contender Series, but he was a big favorite there as well. Like, he was supposed to go and run through that guy, and he did. But he didn't look maybe as good as everybody would have liked. So against Ledet, he could have problems at 350, minus 355, I think it's currently sitting. And there I got a problem. At 170, I got no problem. At minus 200, I got no problem. At minus 235, 240, I probably hit it because I'm a degenerate. But once it starts getting like north of 300, 350, like now you've definitely got a problem on your hands. So unless you use them as parlay material, sure, but Ledet's got some merit to him, right? My last thing with Ledet, though, is that with the fight with Chase Sherman, he lands 113 significant strikes. He's got an 80-inch reach. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in here. He could just stay to the outside and use that jab. But you got to think that the low kicks from Justin Jacoby are eventually going to add up, eventually slow this guy down. Once he's a mobile target, hit him a few times. And if they've done their tape on him, they've seen he's a pretty durable guy. So, just don't go out there and push for the quick finish in the first round. At least bank to survive that third 29-28 worst-case scenario for Dustin Jacoby.
There you go. Locke, how do you feel about this one?
I remember the days of watching Justin Ledet face Chase Sherman, like Cody was saying, and kind of being impressed. Like, he showed solid footwork. He showed a good jab. He showed solid fundamentals when he came to the boxing game. And I'm like, okay, this guy has a little bit of potential. Then we started, he gets a rear naked choke over Mark Garbier, who's like killing it in bare knuckle boxing now, right? Let him, that's probably what he's made for a little bit more. Hence why he got rear naked choked by a guy like Justin Ledet. Then he gets a decision victory over Anyanwu. And then he falls on tough times. Can you really blame him for losing to Alexander Rakic the way he did? 30-24, pretty much. I think that was the scorecard on that fight. Johnny Walker, quick knockout. And then Alexa Calmer was a little bit closer compared to the other ones. But I truly thought that Ledet had a little bit more to offer, but he really hasn't evolved. Like, the guy just sticks with the hands, and that's really about it. Footwork is okay and all that, but it's nothing that's going to blow your hair back at this point. I was looking at him at that Chase Sherman fight and be like, all right, we got somebody in this light heavyweight division that could truly make some noise. But man, the lack of evolution has been so disconcerting with the guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't even want to bother like looking too much further into him. Dustin Jacoby, on the other hand, he's like Justin Ledet, but like with way more weapons. He's a really good striker, obviously, with the Glory kickboxing, like my guys already touched on. Yeah, the cardio could use a little bit of help, but can we give him a quick shout out for having that run that he had on, June 29, 2019, where he fought 3 times, kickboxing, boxing, and MMA. Terrence Hodges, the OG legend, Tony Lopez. Shout out Tony Lopez. Just give that guy a UFC fight just for the heck of it. I don't care if he's 75 years old. Just let him go in there with freaking Jake Collier if we need to. And then, Cody East was his other MMA victory that he got that night. So, fighting 3 times one night, he looked actually pretty good. And then the Ty Flores one. Why the hell was Flores not going out? He got hit with a lot of bombs, and I think Dustin Jacoby really he overexerted himself there, which is why we saw so many of those cardiosas in that third round. I think if he's able to pace himself, work with the leg kicks, because we know that's kind of what Dustin. I keep screwing up the Justin and Dustin here. Let's just go with Ledet and Jacoby if we can. But if he can work on the lead leg of Ledet, really start like kicking him, start to render him immobile if pretty much that would be the best way to go about this, so that he can work with his hands, his elbows, and really open up the head for some more strikes, the body work as well too. I like Jacoby here. I like him closer to that minus 170 line, like the opening. I think the odds makers got it right there, but I don't want to touch this at minus 400. I know there's a ton of chalk on this card, but this is one of the ones that I feel least likely is a lock of the night play, if you want to call it. There's shameless little plug right there. But I don't want to touch Dustin Jacoby here at that minus 400 range. Even in a parlay, I'm okay with just sitting back. And I can't really make a decision on whether this is going to go under 2.5 or over 2.5. Like, primarily when we have two strikers, especially in the higher weight classes, I like going with the unders. You know what I mean? Especially if you're giving me 2.5 rounds. Again, they're primarily strikers too, but Justin Ledet just doesn't really throw much power. That's the one concern there. And then again, if this does get into the third round, we do see a little bit of cardio issues from Dustin Jacoby, then we're looking at a 15-minute fight there. So I will go with Jacoby here. I'm not so confident in him at that minus 400 range. I don't even know if I want to parlay him here. I don't know if Cody's going to put him all the way up in his pie parlays that he has. But I'm not too fond of Jacoby here. We really need to see him work out this fight. This is a good fight for him to get back into the UFC. So let's see how he does, see how the cardio looks, and then we'll go forward from there.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I feel pretty much the same way. And it's the pick's Jacoby for me. It's like, how I understand how you could take Ledet here, but my goodness, a guy 3-fight losing streak. Now, is he fighting high-level competition in at least 2 of the 3? Well, that's arguable. I definitely like Rakic. Johnny Walker, we're still kind of finding out what Johnny Walker's bringing. But I tell you what, Alexa Kammer, I don't think that guy's too good, and he got it done against Ledet. Dustin Jacoby, second stint in the UFC, the Glory Kickboxing. We've touched on everything here. Do we like the number he's at? Absolutely not. I mean, he's kind of become, I'm not going to call him a victim, but, minus 170. Yeah, that's accurate, man. That's probably exactly where this should be. The problem with this card in general is we've got so many big favorites. Now it's like these, middle tier, lower tier guys that should be, a moderate, mild favorite. Everyone's jumping on trying to get, something better than a minus 250, minus 300 spot. Well, that money rolls in, blows him up right up into that range as well. Does he deserve to be there? Absolutely not. Do I think he should win the fight? I do, but man, we've got so many other spots with a similar number. I got a little bit of a funny feeling about this one. I could see Ledet winning this one, but the pick is Dustin Jacoby, no doubt. All right, here we go. Ooh, you want to talk high-level talent, boys? We got Jason Witt going up against Cole Williams. Cody Safdie, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very difficult fight to get a good read on. And then the weigh-ins happens, and it's just like, one final wrench in your plans. To be honest, Cole Williams was a guy at one point didn't seem so bad. You look at his record and just like, meh. But he was actually on Bellator's Fight Master show. If you guys remember that from way back in the day, it was like Bellator's one attempt at recreating the Ultimate Fighter. It happens in 2013, and Cole Williams ends up being the 5th overall ranked guy in the show, ends up on Team Randy Couture, wins his first 2 fights in the show, look pretty good. And then he gets a fight with Joe Riggs, who's the number 1 seeded guy in the show. Spoiler alert, 2013, Joe Riggs wins the whole thing. And Cole Williams fights him to like a close split decision, right? And could have gone either way, loses the fight to Riggs, who's a monstrous welterweight, one of the biggest welterweights you'll ever see. It looked decent for Cole Williams. He's a guy that's wrestled. He's out of Iowa, your home state. You should rep back him a little bit. I've seen at his camp. I mean, it seems like he spends a lot of time working on his boxing. His camp's primarily a lot of like former Iowa Golden Glove guys. It seems like he's got skills here and there. His takedown defense is okay. He's got some okay power. And then since then, there's just been really no improvements from Cole Williams. He took a lot of time off. I actually offered him a fight one time. It was a rematch versus Joe Riggs for a promotion up in Alberta. And he said he wanted $10,000. Wasn't overly interested in fighting, but if the money was right, then he would do it. And then all of a sudden, bam, COVID happens. Now we need bodies. Now we need guys that are going to fill in these roster spots. Cole Williams gets a call up against Claudia Silva. I thought maybe he'd give an okay account of himself. Here's your UFC debut. You never thought it was going to happen. Here's the payday you were looking for. He blows up the weigh-in. Doesn't look good. Misses weight grossly. Comes in against Silva. Poses 0 threats to him. Has been off a year. I truly didn't even think they'd give him another fight. And then he takes this one, relatively short notice. I still got him on Facebook because I offered him that fight one time, and he hadn't announced anything until like a few weeks prior. It was just like taking another fight in the UFC, and then he bombs the weigh-ins again. Comes in 5 pounds overweight. So my God, is that going to help him or not? Because it could help him when you consider he is bigger than Jason Witt. Jason Witt's also been knocked out 4 times as a professional, knocked out twice as an amateur. Has also been severely rocked in a couple of his wins. He's a guy that doesn't really have a great chin. he's gone on record saying that his game plan for this fight is to press him up against the cage and get him down. But Williams' takedown defense really not all that bad. So if Cole can just keep the fight standing, force a couple of these striking exchanges, Witt's faster. Witt's got probably the sharper technical boxing, but he just can't be trusted in taking the punch resistance. So I just almost feel that like if he struggles to take him down, at some point Williams is going to hit him with something and hurt him. That's if the 5 pounds helps him out. Harder to take down. Cardio won't be as bad. Fucking guy gave up 40% of his purse. You have to win at this point. You have to win and get your win bonus, or this is really a waste of time. So like maybe it plays out towards him, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe he is that still fat, out of shape. He's posting pictures with Yanez and Silva today. He didn't look in good shape. Missed weight. Could honestly go either way. But I want that dog play because I got it like closer to a 50-50 fight, and it's just like give me a dog or pass. But truthfully, the smart play is probably just hit the pass. I'm going to go dog or pass, but could kind of go either way. And they're two very middling, low-level talents in the UFC at this point.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Locke, what do you think?
I can't believe this is even on a UFC card. Let's just start off with that. Like I was very stunned to have to go into and actually tape this fight. For me, it's the only way I would play this fight is if I got Jason Witt at plus money. And obviously that's not going to happen now. We're less than 24 hours away from this fight happening. And there's no way that there's going to be a surge of money coming in on Cole Williams at this point in time. On one of his fights, they said that he had over 100 wrestling matches in high school or college or something like that. It doesn't really showcase that in his fights. You see him like kind of going like a John Phillips style. Like the guy just likes to throw bombs and kind of slug it out. And there are certain exchanges where like the last 30 seconds around, he'll go for a takedown, but that's after his opponent has already eaten so many shots. Jason Witt, on the other hand, looks like he likes to go for the takedowns more often than not, you know? And for me, I always like to side with the grappler over a striker, but my hesitancy here is that Jason Witt's not that good either. That's the one thing. He does have chin issues. He does have durability issues, and Cole Williams could definitely crack and cause some issues here for Jason Witt. Jason Witt's just coming off, I believe it's 4 months ago where he got knocked out by Takashi Sato. So you got to keep that in mind in terms of where he's at with his durability. But in terms of skill for skill, I like Jason Witt. I don't want to play him at minus 145. I'd only play him at plus money here. Cole Williams could absolutely land a bomb. Like I said, like Cody said, he has an extra 5 pounds to add to that knockout power of his, or even to add to the takedown defense of his too. Because if Jason Witt doesn't get this to the ground, anybody who laid money on Jason Witt's going to be sweating their ass off. That's for sure. With that said, this is a complete pass of a fight. If you want to have some fun, go with the under 2.5 plus 160. That's not too bad of a line if you think that Cole Williams actually has the shot of knocking him out, or if Jason Witt gets this to the ground, pulls off some ground and pound or something like that, or a submission of some sort. The under 2.5 is a lot more sexy to me than actually picking a side here. But I will go with Jason Witt to win this by decision. You know what? I'm going to take him by second round ground and pound. But still, Cole Williams has some fucking bombs in his hands, and that's my only concern. I want to sit back, probably skip this fight to even watch. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go out, grab a snack or something, come back. But I like Jason Witt here, but not enough to play or risk my money at all.
Understandable. Guru, how you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of broke it down pretty good. I do think Jason Witt is probably even better on the feet. I mean, he switches stances and he definitely throws a lot more volume, but it's just the chin issues, man. His chin isn't very good. So it's like Cole Williams does have that cross that he throws down the middle, and he's pretty powerful. He has decent wrestling as well. So I think it's just he might push Witt early, but seeing him at the weigh-ins, I already thought that he was gonna, slow down after that first round, and now he missed weight again like that. I feel like, I don't know, it could, like Cody said, maybe it will help him, but I feel like maybe he's just not gonna have the cardio after the first round, so I do like the the fight doesn't go the distance. It was at like plus 150, plus 145. And when you look at it, I mean, Witt does have a few decision wins, but Cole Williams in both of his losses, he got finished, and Jason Witt, he's been finished in all of his losses. So I just feel like it's a low level fight, man. I don't think that Cole Williams is going to be able to go the 3 rounds if he can't get him out of there in the first round. And I feel like he has potential to knock Jason Witt out too. So I feel like the fight doesn't go the distance is a pretty decent play, but I don't want anything to do with either side there.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. I mean, how you can really get a rock solid read on this fight's truly beyond me, because I've been trying all week and I really just can't do it. I'm going to tell you guys what, though. This show is the final weigh-in, man. Cody Safdie, you mentioned you weren't sure if Williams thought he was going to get another fight. Well, I got to tell you something. Based off how this guy came in looking today, I think he thought he wasn't going to get another fight. Looks to me like this dude just totally took some time off, may have ballooned up, and then found out, 2-3 weeks ago, time to kick the diet into effect, start hitting the gym. I'm getting another shot here. Dude did not look good to me at weigh-ins at all. If anything, I thought he looked a little weirder, a little sloppier than he even did in his debut. And boy, that was not an impressive debut. As far as a pick, I'm going to go Witt here. But, man, it's a total – I'm with you, Guru, man. I'm not getting on either side of this. I am debating fight does not go the distance at the plus money. That seems a little bit crazy. Both guys have a propensity to finish. You take Williams in there out of shape, man. I think Williams might only have a round and a half of cardio in him, or he goes in there and knocks Witt out. You know what I'm saying? So definite possibility this fight doesn't make it to the scorecards. I'll take Witt as the pick, but boy, that's a fight that, like you said, Guru, man, I don't want my money on either side of that fight. Here's a fight I may want my money on a side. We got Sean Strickland going up against Jack Marshman. Locke, can you get us going on this one?
All right, everybody. Hold on to your hats. I'm going to use that godforsaken word. This is my lock of the night play. I got Sean Strickland. Last week, I got him at minus 245. I love Strickland in this spot. Jack Marshman going into this, I kept telling all my buddies, I'm like, this is your last chance to fade John Phillips. And I may have, given Jack Marshman a little bit too much slack there. When you actually look at the tape, he has better footwork than John Phillips. He moves a little bit better. He's not just trudging forward, trying to throw it, winging shots. I'll give him that much. He does have a little bit better footwork. But all in all, Sean Strickland has fought much better strikers, in my opinion. He's going to be, the farthest fluid guy in terms of managing the distance, getting his kicks off. The time he got knocked out by Alizio Zaleski dos Santos, that was something that completely caught him off guard. I mean, that's something like a spinning back kick. He thought he had it blocked. It comes over the top of his head and hits him in the back of the head, and he gets rocked. There's no way Jack Marshman's throwing anything like that in this fight. He's going to see everything coming his way. Not to mention the jiu-jitsu advantage that Sean Strickland's going to have here too. I believe he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so even if he gets this fight to the ground, I could see him locking up a submission as well too. Initially, when I broke down this fight, I thought it was going to be more so a Sean Strickland going out there and just kind of beating him up on the feet, maybe not outpointing, but absolutely finishing him later in the fight too. But Strickland, man, like he's going out there and beating guys like Tom Breeze, who in my opinion are like at the top of their game. They're like one of the best strikers, like top 5 strikers if Tom Breeze is absolutely on. Sean Strickland looks freaking phenomenal when he is on his game. Yeah, he's coming off a pretty significant motorcycle injury and all that type of stuff, but I think this is a perfect cupcake fight for him to get back into the UFC. I know it's a weight class higher that he's normally fighting at too, but still, I think this is an easy fight for him. I like him to either outpoint this on the feet or even get it to the ground and pull off a submission himself too. I think Jack Marshman's almost a fish out of water when he gets to the ground, so I think that he's going to be in a little bit of trouble when he gets there. But I truly love Strickland here. As soon as this fight was announced, I jumped into the tape and I was waiting for limits to open up. Got my limits open up on Bookmaker. Got him at minus 245. I just hammered that shit right away. I'm just like, I knew Strickland was going to be my play here. I try not to go in with a biased opinion either when I'm going into tape, right? You want to go in there clean slate, look at both guys, without any bias. And I still came out on the outside thinking that Sean Strickland is going to go out there and do work. Now, I was initially hesitant in terms of whether this was going to go over or under 2.5 rounds. I love the under 2.5 here, even at plus. I personally, I played it myself at plus 115 or sorry, plus 113. I like the plus money here. I think it's either Jack Marshman, he lands a Hail Mary KO of some sort, or we get Sean Strickland going out there and actually doing, getting the takedown, doing some work on the feet. Like he is good enough on the feet to do work and keep Jack Marshman thinking that this is going to be a striking fight, and then pull out a takedown just out of nowhere, catch Jack Marshman, slipping. Gets him to the ground, do some jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, get a choke, get a ground and pound, whatever it is. I think Marshman is completely outmatched here, and this is the last time we're probably going to get to bet him here. He has a win over John Phillips, pretty much mirror fight, but again, a guy with a slightly better footwork than Jack Marshman is the one who's able to pull it off there. But yeah, I don't see how he beats Strickland here. Hail Mary KO, but I think that's very, very low percentage. So I love Sean Strickland here. Obviously, he's minus 355 now. I would rather parlay him at this point with a guy like Yanez or somebody else later in the card. But I love that spot at minus 245, and I hammered that with like no tomorrow. There you go. Guru, how you feeling about it?
Yeah, I agree with what he said. I mean, for Strickland to lose this fight, he's going to have to make a mistake, and Marshman's going to catch him. But another thing to piggyback off he said, or a couple more things is, at the weigh-ins, Marshman missed weight. I thought he looked like really soft. And if you look at his record, he's 1-5 outside of the UK. So he doesn't really do very well when he has to travel, like come to the United States, go somewhere else. So that could also potentially be like a reason why he missed weight. He is older as well. And yeah, I just feel like Strickland is better everywhere, but he could make it an easy fight. I feel like if he wants to get it to the ground, he'll be able to get a rear naked choke pretty easily, take the back, or, finish with ground and pound. But if he keeps it on the feet and, it could potentially, Marshman could have some moments, but I still feel like he'll easily control the striking on the feet too and be able to get the win. So I do feel like Strickland is, a pretty safe play to put in parlays and stuff like that.
There you go. Cody Saftik, give us your thoughts, please.
Yeah, so I agree on a lot of points. Obviously, with Sean Strickland, it's like, here's a guy that's he turned professional at 17 years old, 3 weeks after his 17th birthday. He's been fighting for 12 years. He's fought no less than 2 times a year, every single year since 2009. So on one hand, it's like maybe that time off would help a guy. Maybe that time off kind of rejuvenates you and sets you. But dude, it was a motorcycle accident. And like, that's just one thing I'm having difficulty, because Sean Strickland, far superior fighter. He's a far better grappler, far better wrestler, far better striker, far better, cleaner boxing technique. And Marshman was actually a former Welsh army boxing champion. He's been fighting for 10 years himself. He's known for his hands. But you've been seeing him fight for 10 years. No development to his game. Ground game got a little bit better, but outside of that, not much. His output, not great. He relies a little bit on the fact that he has some power, but I don't think he's knocking out Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, at the very least, could just outpoint this guy with the jab from the outside and a few kicks, make it a slow-paced fight, and win. All that. But you got a massive knee injury and a massive motorcycle accident. And so as much as I'm on Sean Strickland, I'm going to bet Sean Strickland. And sure enough, you guys know me, I'm going to parlay Sean Strickland. One thing worth noting is, like, he got in a motorcycle accident that sidelined him for 2 years. And as much as you can all just say, like, oh, yeah, he's going to come back better. Oh, man, he wouldn't be fighting if he wasn't ready. Frank Mir had that motorcycle accident as well, way back in the day. Frank Mir was the UFC champion. He beat Tim Sylvia. He took exactly 2 years off. He came back to the sport. He was still only 26 years old. He fought Marcio Cruz. He was a 3-1 favorite. He got fucked up by Marcio Cruz. Marcio Cruz absolutely battered him, knocked him out in the first round. He was a 3-1 favorite. But the motorcycle accident, you don't know how it changes your psyche. You don't know how it changes your body. You don't know. It's like, it's not as if, oh, well, he hurt his hand, so he's been working on other things. It's like he wrecked his body. So you almost got to see Sean Strickland fight one time before you really know what you're getting yourself into. But that being said, I mean, if he's half the man that he was against Nordine Taleb, he wins this fight. And I have to assume he's still only 29 years old. It's not like he's completely shop-worn. He hasn't taken a whole lot of damage in his fighting career. Again, the little bit of the time off would actually help him in some ways, but, not when you're laid up in a bed. So I got Sean Strickland. I'm going to bet Sean Strickland. But I do got this, like, gut feeling that it's like, it'd be nice to bet Sean Strickland next time out when you've got a better idea of, it's like, oh, his cardio's still good. Like, oh, his footwork's still good. Oh, his athleticism still good. Oh, his eagerness. Like, Sean Strickland's guy that was risk adverse. Like, there's a lot of times it's like, dude, you could win this fight if you just pressed forward a little bit, if you just threw a little bit more. But it's like, he doesn't quite jump into the fire. Now he's coming back after the layoff. Now he's coming back after some mental uncertainty. You just don't fully know. But I agree with you. I think we're all going to take Sean Strickland here. I have not met anybody who's picking Jack Marshman. Not one. But I have met a few people who are the same boat as me, that they're like, yeah, you know what, I'm a little bit nervous about the accident, but he's a far superior fighter.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, you guys, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, we got to talk about, Sean Strickland moving up a weight class, and I was very interested to see how he looked today at weigh-ins, were we going to see, a less, a more out of shape Sean Strickland? Was he going to have issues with the knee? Maybe he's not going to be able to get in the cardio. It's been 2 years, though. I believe that the knee's rehab, but Cody, I'm with you, man. We're going to learn a lot about Sean Strickland in this fight. We're going to find out if Sean Strickland's a guy we can back in the future, or maybe we see a Sean Strickland that's just not the same guy anymore. 2 years, I mean, outside of a motorcycle accident, you take 2 years off in the fight game, you might be a different person just from the time off, right? Then we throw in the motorcycle accident. I tell you what, though, guys, I think we'd have to see a severely diminished Sean Strickland in this spot to lose to a guy like Jack Marshman. We talked about Marshman, man. He showed up looking about as bad as Cole Williams did. Really unimpressed by the physique here out of him. And I don't know, man. Like, Marshman, I kind of get that feeling, he's one of these guys that, we keep around as, the soft welcome back for a guy like a Sean Strickland in this spot. I got Sean Strickland in this one. Absolutely got him parlayed. Did end up getting him at a far better number than he is right now. But what are we going to do, man? Chalky card, heavy favorites. I still feel like Sean Strickland wins this fight the vast, vast majority of the time. Give me Sean Strickland. He'd have to come out there and really disappoint, I think, to lose this fight to Marshman. So we are still on the prelims. We've got a banger. Adrian Yanez going up against Victor Rodriguez. Cody, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, Adrian Yanez, we got another big favorite on the card. Young kid, 26 years old, making his UFC debut. So that in itself, we always talk about the worries of the bright lights and this and that. But what we saw from Contender Series, you and I all, you, me, and Guru, I believe, watched that one together. Man, this guy's got the goods. He's still developing, he's still green, but he's got quick hands, good boxing, good power behind him. He's already got a lot of experience when you consider he is so young, but he's already competed at a fairly high level, fought for an LFA championship, already fought a couple UFC veterans. It just seems like he's really coming to his own. I was really interested in Adrian Yenez versus Aaron Phillips because, Aaron Phillips is a guy that's got a little bit of durability issues. Was a good fight for an up-and-coming guy like Yenez, debut, see where he stands, kind of a litmus test, but you've obviously got him. Now taking on a short-notice replacement, that obviously is going to play into his favor. It's the nature of the short-notice replacement of Victor Rodriguez. It's nothing against Rodriguez. Is that one, we don't got a whole lot of stuff that we can work with in terms of footage that's available on him. But what we can assume is that he's operating at a fairly low level. All of his fights have pretty much been on the Alaska regional scene. He's been fighting low-level guys, even though that there's some glimpses of he looks like he's a grindy style grappler. It looks like he's aggressive enough, strong, likes to come forward, in good shape. He just seems very hittable. He seems very open. He seems very... there's going to be those openings, and Yenez is going to probably spark this guy early, and within 1.5 rounds, I would imagine, probably takes him out. Now, again, whenever you got a guy that's young and debuting and you're overhyping him, you don't like paying these minus 400 price tags. So, again, I'll admit, just like every other fight on this card, when it got announced, it was Chalk City to an. When they opened these lines, it was already Chalk City. It's just that all those favorites got steamed, and now they're really sitting at a very worrisome price where you almost feel like taking a shot on a few dogs. Only Victor Rodriguez is not the kind of dog that I want to take my shot on. So I got Adrian Yenez beating him with his superior striking. Also, Yenez has fought guys like Miles John in the past. He's had to go into some deeper waters, and he's fought in better grapplers and better wrestlers than Victor Rodriguez. And he always does find a way to scramble, get back up, give a good account of himself. It's hard to hold down. So really, Rodriguez's only path of victory is maybe use that, I don't even know if I'd call it size, but if he's got a bit of a strength, press him up against the cage, try to take him down. I just don't think it's going to work. And when they're standing, Yenez will show the boxing advantage. He'll show the speed advantage, and I think he's going to catch him at some point. So sign me up for Adrian Yenez, and I'm going to take him probably by knockout to try to improve that price.
Lock, let us know.
This is a complete mismatch. I know both of them are making their UFC debuts here, but you're going to see the level of skill Adrian Yanez has against this guy and Victor Rodriguez. And personally, sometimes I like blindly fading guys that come over from Alaska FC, but then when you actually look at the tape of some of these guys, it's warranted. Yeah, I mean, the Tristan Lowe fight for Victor Rodriguez, that one was tough. First of all, it's at a show called Blood, Sweat, and Beers.
Oh,
okay. So that's one. They're fighting outside in a WWF ring. So the referee's fully dolled up in that blue referee shirt and all that stuff. It was hilarious. But that kid looked like he did not want to be there at all. Victor Rodriguez is just tossing him around the cage. It looked like somebody got a sentence to 15 minutes with a professional MMA fighter. It was horrible. And that was only 3 fights ago for Victor Rodriguez. His last fight against Jared Mazurek was somebody with a decent record, 8-1. But once you actually start watching that fight, it looked like Mazurek just didn't want to be in there either. That second round, the guy was huffing and puffing, and Victor Rodriguez himself looked a little bit gassed too. It wasn't a super high-paced fight or anything like that, but it looked like Rodriguez, wanted to get his shots off in terms of his striking and all that, wanted to get the takedown here and there too, but it didn't seem like he had the sustainability of doing that over 15 minutes. Luckily for him, halfway through that second round, he was able to get the finish there. But man, it when he was striking, it almost looked like it was in slow motion compared to what we've been seeing with Adrian Yanez. And I think it's going to catch him completely off guard. Yanez is going to go in there, get his hands working. I don't even think he's going to have to throw kicks. They should just have a stipulation there where Yanez is not allowed to throw kicks to make it a little bit of an even fight. But Yanez is still going to go in there, do work with his hands. I think he'll be able to get Rodriguez out of there in the first round. I don't think it's going to look close at all. Minus 400 makes sense here. Personally, I wanted to play the inside the distance, which I think is probably around minus 200 at this point for Yanez. But yeah, Yanez is a perfect parlay piece for this card. One of the higher ups. I personally have him on a parlay with Holland as well too. I love him, Chalk City, but he's definitely worth it here. Yanez is a talent to watch in the UFC. In that bantamweight division, I think he has a bright future. And unfortunately for Victor Rodriguez, this is his welcoming to the UFC. I think it's going to be short-lived. He'll probably only be in the UFC for 2 or 3 fights, kind of doing the jobber role. But yeah, I like Yanez to win this fight. He's going to starch him on the feet, and it's not even going to look competitive at all. So I got Yanez first round KO.
Woo, I like it. Guru, how you feeling?
Yeah, man. I mean, I gotta agree with everything they said. I was watching a few Victor Rodriguez's fights and just not very impressed. I mean, he throws like these windmill punches, super open, super hittable, and his kicks are okay, and he is like fast and aggressive. I mean, I think he has all his wins by KO TKO, but I just think he's gonna play right into Yanez's hands. I think he's gonna come in confident, on the feet. I think he's gonna think that he's going to be able to, get in the pocket and trade with Yanez. And I think the speed and just the boxing difference is going to be immense, and I think Yanez is going to be able to probably knock him out in the first round. I saw that Yanez by KO TKO is like minus 150. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good value there. I don't really think he's going to get a submission unless like he drops him and then like catches him in a choke or something. So I feel like it'll probably be a knockout, and I think it's going to be like early in the first round. So yeah, it doesn't seem like any of us are giving Rodriguez much of a shot here.
He doesn't deserve it.
I'm not either. I got Yenez in this one. It's like Cody said, we watched this guy on our Tuesday night show, and man, came out there, showed some lightning hands that connected very accurately. I want to say that was a sub 1 minute KO. I mean, it wasn't like, a stiffened body on the ground KO, but the ref had to get in there and save that guy. I mean, he was blatantly out on his feet. Yenez, super crisp hands, man. I like what I'm seeing. Rodriguez, you watch the tape. He seems to be one of these, unfortunately, these Alaskan guys. It just does not go well for him. Locke, you touched on it, man. These Alaskan guys, maybe we're a little too critical, but boy, I mean, it's Alaska. Come on. You really think there's a lot of MMA up-and-comers and talent? I don't know, man. But for me, it's Yenez in this one. And as, a heavy favorite, I feel like he's probably one of these favorites that probably deserves to be priced relatively close to where he is right now, which is a rare thing for me, man. I almost will never say that a guy that's, steeper than a minus 300, steam beyond that point's ever going to be worth it in a cage fight. I actually feel like Yenez probably has some value even where he's at right now. So it's Yenez for me, and I'm going to have some action on him for sure. So we are at the last fight of the prelim main event, if you will. Alexander Hernandez going up against Chris Gruetzemacher. Guru, can you start us on this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight again. I mean, Chris Gruetzemacher, I'm surprised to see him back. He hasn't fought in like 2.5 years. I don't know if he retired or what happened, but he's coming back, and I guess he did have the best performance of his career. His last fight against Joe Lozon, he was able to, use his game. To me, it reminds me of like a low-budget Brian Barberina. Like, he's not as good, but comes forward at hand fighting, attacks the body, tries to, pressure you, wear you down. Pretty decent defensive wrestling, but he's not really great anywhere, not a great athlete. He's just trying to bring you into deep waters, and he's a guy, like, if you underestimate him or you maybe don't train as hard in camp, something like that, which Hernandez, he does kind of have that, cocky attitude where maybe he could overlook someone, but coming off the losses, I don't think that, he's going to be able to afford doing that. I think he's going to come in here focused to get the win. And I mean, we've seen Hernandez struggle with forward pressure before and kind of get tired in fights, which Gruetzemacher can do that to people. But I just feel like Hernandez, he's way more athletic. He's been fighting a lot higher competition level than Gruetzemacher. And Gruetzemacher kind of survives off being, super durable. And he has gotten finished by Artem Lobov, but he eats a lot of big shots. I just don't know against Hernandez if he can eat those shots. And he has been submitted by rear naked choke 3 times. And I actually bet this earlier in the week. I saw Hernandez by submission was it was at plus 800 when I bet it. So, I mean, I feel like that's very possible to happen. And I mean, all of his losses are by rear naked choke. I do feel like Hernandez could take him down. And that's what I see happening. I think he's going to probably get a maybe first, second round submission here. So I'm going to go with Hernandez. But yeah, I mean, I feel like he should win. But like I said, I mean, if you come in disrespecting Gruetzemacher, you think it's going to be a super easy fight. You could be in for a rude awakening, but I got to go with Hernandez here, man.
Yeah, we've seen Hernandez do that before, that's for sure. Cody Saftik, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think this is the UFC trying to almost get Alexander Hernandez back in the win column. He's a kid that largely operates on confidence, and his confidence is shot to bits right now. I mean, after the Donald Cerrone fight where he talked himself into a fight where he needed to do something, and Donald Cerrone put it on him, it seemed like part of him was kind of taken away. The Trinaldo fight, he wins very close. If that's not in Texas, which is his backyard, probably doesn't even win that fight. So very close. And then he goes out there against Drew Dober. And again, listen, all credit. He's fighting top guys. All he does is fight top guys. but it's like his confidence is severely shook. He needs to be able to go in there and bully guys around. That's where he fights at his best. And this is at least a spot where Chris Gruetzemacher has been off for 2-year-long layoff. He's a guy that, technically speaking, if we just want to look for skills, Hernandez is way more explosive, way faster, way more athletic. As far as the wrestling goes, Gruetzemacher is wrestler grinder kind of guy, does his best work from top control. I don't think he's taking down Hernandez. As far as him landing a shot, being able to hurt the Joe Lozons of the world, puncher's chance MMA, obviously anything can happen, but there's a difference between Chris Gruetzemacher hitting you and Drew Dober and Donald Cerrone hitting you, right? I mean, we've seen Hernandez take some hellacious shots, and it takes quite a few of them to put him down. He will go down, but it takes quite a few of them. So I honestly just feel like he'll have his way. If he has a good first round, that's when you'll see that confidence start building in him. He should just persevere and at least probably get that submission as well. This is just another spot, just like most of the stuff on this card, is that when it opened up, it's Hernandez minus 240. Like my boy Locke was saying, he's got his lock of the night. Hernandez at minus 240 is my lock of the night. But now he's minus 400. The by submission prop, it's now from 800 down to 500. Like, money's coming down. People have realized, geez, you know what? He is a superior guy. And then at what point is it like, geez, he's obviously got a chip on his shoulder. He might be a little bit mentally fragile. He could be on a 3-fight losing streak if not for the Trinaldo decision, but he's 1-2 in his last 3 overall. He's taken a lot of damage in 2 of those fights. Like, maybe at 400 you start to ask too many questions. At 240 you love it. 400 not so much. But hey, we do the show on Fridays. We wait for the weigh-ins. We're acknowledging that we're getting as much info as we can, and as a result, the price tends to change in that favor as well. So I think that the better athlete, Alexander Hernandez, might not be the better fighter, but in this case, the better athlete, Alexander Hernandez, will end up coming away with the victory. Could knock him out, could submit him. I do like that submission prop still, but I could also just see him just giving Gruetzemacher the grind for a couple rounds and then playing it safe just to get back in the win column and getting a decision. So official play, obviously Alexander the Great Hernandez. Not 100% sure on method of victory, but that it's obviously tempting by submission.
Sounds good to me, man. Locke, how you feeling about this one?
I'm kind of bummed that we're all pretty much on the same page for a lot of these fights, and I want to be the guy that goes out there and says Chris is going to pull off the upset here, but he's not. Let's be honest here. He's not. I don't know why he always reminds me of he has a style of a Darren Elkins, but a little bit faster, I'd say. And even when I say faster, it's not by a lot. I think more so with Chris here. I believe he's coming out. The 2-year layoff is due to an ACL injury, so he's coming off a pretty bad injury that he's having to nurse and come back to. And having a first fight back against Alexander Hernandez is probably not the way you want to go. And hungry Alexander Hernandez. Let's not forget about that too. Like Cody had alluded to, he could be on a 3-fight losing streak right now. That Trinaldo fight was not pretty whatsoever. So he's low on himself. He's not really living up to, when he knocked out Beneil Dariush at UFC 222. He's not really living up to that hype that we all had about him. Yeah, he went out there and grinded out OAM as well. That's the type of fight that I think he needs to bring here against Chris Gruetzemacher to be able to get his hand raised. Yeah, I think the sub prop is a solid spot here too. But personally, I think he's just going to play it as safe as possible, try to get Chris to the ground and try to just ride out on top, land a couple pitter-patter shots from the top and just maintain position. Maybe not overextend too much by going for submissions because you'd be a little bit too scared of letting this opportunity slip away from him. But I love Hernandez in this spot. Like, he's much faster. He's going to be quicker. He'll have the better wrestling too. And Gruetzemacher, he shines in moments against guys like Joe Lozon. Like you said, I believe it was Guru. If you don't take him seriously, or it was Cody, if you don't take him seriously, he's going to take advantage of that. Yeah, I mean, and I think Hernandez is at that spot. Like if this was him coming off that OAM win or something like that, maybe he would get caught there where he's a little bit too cocky and thinking, okay, I'm untouchable at this point. But you're talking about a guy that devastatingly got knocked out in his last fight against Drew Dober. Drew Dober had a perfect game plan and pretty much cutting off the cage and just pressuring him the entire time. And Chris is kind of capable of doing that, but I just think he's not going to be able to stop the takedowns. And that's where Alexander Hernandez is going to start to lean on more often than not in this fight. With him being the faster guy, him being the stronger guy, hopefully the better cardio too. Chris is a gamer for sure, but also you got to take into consideration he is coming off that ACL injury. Who knows how he's going to look after that? And again, this is a solid step up in competition from Joe Lozon at the end of his career to Alexander Hernandez, who's young and hungry and ready to stay in the UFC and wants to stay in the UFC. It would be good for Hernandez to go out there and get a decisive victory, like a submission victory. But I personally think he's going to play it as safe as possible. Just grind him out from on top. Say what you want about Chris. The guy is quite durable. I'll give him that. Yeah, he got choked out by Davey Hamush. Obviously, he's going to get choked out by Davey Hamush if this fight is hitting the ground. But I think Hernandez is just going to play it super, super safe. I like him. I don't mind the minus 400. Yeah, it's a little bit sketchy. I did end up parlaying him with something later in the card just to get better value on that other fighter. But yeah, I think Hernandez cruises here. I like him to win by decision. I don't mind those sub props that Guru and Saftik dropped. But yeah, I think he's just going to play it super safe, get this fight to the ground. And just
I just want to throw one thing as well. Is that he was training in Texas for a long time, or he's probably the top guy in his gym. Since then, he's moved to Factory X Muay Thai. And whereas I do think that's going to be a huge advantage, because it's like now he's in a gym with a bunch of training partners, guys that are better than him, guys that can push him, better coaching staff. He's at altitude, cardio could be fixed, all that's good. But also, remember a few weeks back, Luigi Vendramini fought in the UFC? So Vendramini's at Factory X Muay Thai now as well. And Alexander Hernandez was actually his cornerman for the fight. Benjamini went out there and smoked right through Justin Jacoby. Career best performance. Kid looked like he'd made vast improvements since moving up to Colorado himself, and knocked out a guy that was very durable in Justin Jacoby. It was almost like, wow, immediate improvements, feeling good, looking good. Hernandez was hyped up. You see the adrenaline going through him. My turn's next. Like, I honestly do think the move to Factory X, this kid used to be perceived as a good prospect. He could get back on track. He just needs to get a couple wins under his belt. And listen, Dober could fight for a title someday. Cerrone's fought for the title how many times? Like, those guys are top guys. Where Hernandez just needs to take the slow route. But I would think he's still my lock of the night, I think. Factory X Muay Thai probably bring out the best of him.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, that was going to be my main point on Hernandez. The move to Factory X, it's vastly important to me. Factory X has been on fire as of late. We see a lot of young dudes coming out of there. Really aggressive. They're striking. I mean, the elevation in itself, the cardio. Cody, you pretty much nailed it, man. The Factory X factor here. I think we're going to see a rejuvenated, possibly reinvented Hernandez here. I think we're going to see a lot of the raw talents that this kid had put to their use, coached properly, going out there and using, these philosophies in their true fighting sense, right? Gruetzemacher, we're talking about a guy older, big layoff, injury. I mean, there's just so much. I feel like I have so much weight on why Hernandez should win this fight, and I'm digging for any reason Gruetzemacher really has a chance in this fight. It's a cage fight. He's got a chance to win it, no doubt. And it's like Guru said, you don't take this guy serious. He's gone out there and won some fights he probably shouldn't, but I tell you what, man, Gruetzemacher's also lost some fights that you look at the names now on the resume, not super impressive. I got Hernandez in this one. Very confident in Hernandez. If you're a subscriber to my channel, I have a parlay going right now with Hernandez on it. Yet again, one of these spots where you could have got him at a far better number earlier in the week, but I do feel confident he gets the win here. The pick is Hernandez.
Let me hop in 1 sec as well.
Sure.
And when we're on the topic of training camps, I believe Chris Gruetzemacher was down in ATT before his Joel Ozon fight, and now with this whole COVID thing, I believe he's stuck up there in North Carolina. So that's another thing to take into consideration here. Just another disadvantage for Chris to going into this fight.
Well, there you go. All right, so we are officially up to the main card. This main card replay, I believe, will be exclusively available on odds.com. If you're here watching us live, you don't got to worry about a thing. But if you want to catch the replay, I believe it will be on odds.com exclusive. So let's kick off the main card. First fight on the main card, we've got Bobby Greene versus Thiago Moises. Guru, can you get us going here?
Yeah. Bobby Greene's back, man. I mean, it's like the fourth fight in 4 or 5 months for him. He's getting that money, man. I mean, good for Bobby. But, yeah, I mean, he's kind of picking off these guys that are kind of, lower level guys. But he's looking good, and he's kind of someone that is a momentum guy. When back in the day when he went on that run, he had a lot of fights kind of in a row. There was a lot of stuff going on in his personal life, too, and he still was able to, fight, put that all on the back burner. And he seems like he's when he gets his confidence going, he can just become a lot better. And in this fight with Thiago Moises, I feel like he's going to be really confident on the feet. He's going to be going forward. And Moises, to me, man, I'm still not super sold on the guy. I mean, in his 2 losses in the UFC, they were against pretty high level fighters, but just didn't do much, allowed himself to get backed up to the cage and didn't really take any risks to win the fight, in my opinion. He kind of can, succeed the loss and just kind of coast to a decision loss, not really go for it much. Even against Michael Johnson in his last fight, that first round, I think it was 52-1 on strikes or something like that. And he was kind of just doing the same thing, circling the cage. And then the second round, I mean, he went for the leg lock and he got it. But in this fight, I just don't think that he's going to be able to take Bobby Greene down. And I think that the forward pressure is going to really kind of mute a lot of Thiago Moises' offense on the feet. I think Bobby's just going to be able to just dominate with the striking. And I think just the confidence that Bobby has, him talking to Moises, just backing him up, is going to make Moises, less confident to throw, less confident to shoot takedowns. I just don't trust Moises mentally as well as much. So I feel like this is Bobby's fight to lose. I mean, obviously, if he plays around on the ground, he could get submitted. But we saw in his last fight with Alan Patrick, he took him down, did really well on top. And he's a guy that, is a pretty good grappler himself. So I feel like he could keep it on the feet and win this fight pretty easily. So, yeah, I got to go with Bobby Greene here.
Cody Saftik, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, who would have ever thought Bobby Greene would end up being the COVID king? I mean, this guy was never known to put in these great training camps to begin with, so this actually just plays out for him perfectly. He turned pro in 2008, and then he fought 9 times as a pro in 2008. The next year in 2009, only was able to manage up 6 fights. Since then, he hasn't been able to get more than 2-3 fights in a year, and largely fighting in the UFC, he's had a 2-year layoff and as well manages to get 1 or 2 at most. So, I mean, being able to squeeze all these fights in, it's been perfect for him because instead of maybe getting long layoffs in between and getting out of shape and, mismanaging your time or your focus goes elsewhere, who knows? Who knows what the problem could be? It's just like he's from fight to fight and camp to camp. Bobby Greene's also got a lot of good skills that are going to help him out here. Mainly is that Thiago Moises, what he has shown us in the UFC so far is that striking is just not for him. I mean, you go back to the Beneil Dariush fight, it goes 3 rounds. He lands 8 significant strikes. Crazy. 8 significant strikes. But you know what? Let's cut him the benefit of the doubt in there because Beneil Dariush took him down 4 times, was largely grappling him, and it's Beneil Dariush. It's no problem. Okay, it's an easy pass right off. The Damir Ismagulov fight, again, he doesn't let his hands go. There's no strikes being landed. He also goes 0 for 2 in takedowns in that fight. His wrestling just doesn't look good. Then it's the Michael Johnson fight. Sure, on paper, he walks away with a submission victory with a nice little leg lock. How is it possible that you fought the whole first round? He landed 1 significant strike. 1. Michael Johnson absolutely chews him up piece to piece. Now, mind you, he goes 0 for 3 in takedowns against Michael Johnson. Can't get him down. Rolls for the leg lock and catches him. Cool. Good win. It's not good against Bobby Greene. Bobby Greene does get taken down in the UFC, but mind you, he's fighting a far better level of competition, and they're all listed technically as wrestlers. Alan Patrick last time out. Very one-dimensional guy, but very explosive, strong, Brazilian, big wrestler. Lando Venata, guy wrestled collegiately. Not really a wrestler as far as his UFC career has gone, but adequate wrestler. Clay Guida, come on, we all know about Clay Guida and his wrestling acumen. Francisco Trinaldo, guy wants to take you down. Drakkar Klose, generalist, but a good grappler. He's fought in a lot of wrestlers. They take him down, he pops back up. So Thiago Moises is not as good of a wrestler. He's going to struggle big time to get him down. If he does get him down, Bobby Greene hasn't been submitted since 2012. The submission defense is pretty good. It's largely going to take place stand-up. And when it does take place stand-up, Bobby Greene's just going to chip away at him. Now, the one issue, again, we're going to talk about price because we always do, is that Bobby Greene has this problem where he fights to his opponent's level. And as a result, he loses fights that he probably should have won. I thought he beat Francisco Trinaldo. I thought he beat Drakkar Klose. The problem is that there's too much just showmanship in there. He kind of talks a little bit. He brushes it off. He kind of does the shoulder roll. I don't want to say plays with his food. They're all close fights, and they almost always go to decision. Outside of the James Krause TKO, if you guys seen that, the questionability about that one. Mm-hmm. He's not really a power puncher by no stretch. So these fights always go to decision. And when they go to decision, they're close decisions. And that's fine because I think he's going to win a close enough decision here. It's just I don't like paying -300, -400 on guys I know are going the distance in close fights, and I got to rely on the judges to get it right. Bobby Greene's been screwed before, could get screwed again. It's just one of those problems that if you're not pushing the pace and you just don't really fully know what the judges are going to say, and it's generally always going to decision or to the judges. But Bobby Greene could be having it at -300 right now, and then Bobby Greene by decision is -140. So listen, if you know Bobby Greene, his fights go to decision. I would say if you are betting Bobby Greene, 300 is just too big of a price tag. You would take Bobby Greene by decision, try to get it a lot better at -140.
There you go. Locke, how you feeling about this one?
Cody hit the nail on the head there, man. It's tough to bet a guy at heavy chalk like this who time and time again just makes fights closer than they should be. He should go out and style on most of these guys. Yeah, he's just so into being that charismatic, energetic guy in the cage that likes to talk crap and look like the more cooler guy in the cage. Just let your hands do the talking, dude. Go in there, put your hands together, try to get guys out of there, and start to make a statement. Because it's crazy the run that he's currently on. 3-fight winning streak. This could possibly make it 4. This is going to be 5 fights in the span of 12 months. He hasn't done that in however long. It's been a long time since he's been this active. So it's a good thing for him that he's starting to get into a groove, starting to get solid wins too. Clay Guida, Lando Venata, Alan Patrick, slowly getting better and better with the level of competition. But man, like, he's always heavy chalk at this point because people know that he can do work with the hands, but then he just makes fights way closer than they should be. I was doing my best to try to find a reason to go out there and bet Thiago Moises here just because of him being such a heavy dog, but it's really, really hard to. Like, I kind of almost write off the Damir Ismagulov fight because I truly think that Ismagulov is a top 10 guy waiting to happen. He just needs to start to fight a little bit more. So that's not a bad loss on Moises' record at all. But then when you see the Michael Johnson fight, even the Beneil Dariush fight, to just completely go out there and get outstruck, and then, he got that Hail Mary ankle lock against Michael Johnson in the second round because Michael Johnson is just a complete nutcase. But Thiago Moises is, solid jiu-jitsu. And the only thing that I saw, the only positive that I could give Thiago Moises in this fight is when you see Bobby Greene in those clinching and grappling exchanges, there are instances where he pretty much always turns his back to his opponent to try to get out of these positions. And my only little concern is if Thiago Moises decides to hop on the back, sink in the body triangle, whatever it is, and start to work from there and maybe accumulate some control time. We know Bobby Greene likes to make fights closer than they should be, and we have seen him stuck in those spots a couple times. But I truly think that Thiago Moises, given how much accolades we've given him with his jiu-jitsu, I'm not as impressed as I thought that I would be. Like, watching his fights, I thought he would be a little bit more successful in pulling off submissions and, using his guard a lot better. Obviously, the Michael Johnson one is just an asterisk because of the way that fight went down. But nothing really gives me too much confidence in going out there and laying that +2, whatever the hell it is right now for Thiago Moises, +265. If you like Thiago Moises at all, the only way he's probably going to win this fight is by submission, and +560 for submission is not too bad if you want to throw a little bit of sprinkle on there, if you have confidence in Thiago Moises. However, I don't see him winning a decision here. I think Bobby Greene will always find his way back to his feet, find that distance, put those hands together, really get it going. And I like Bobby Greene here, just not at that line. If you give me maybe -150, -160, I'd be a little bit happier. But -290, -300, I'm staying away. I like Bobby Greene. He's going to win this fight. The decision prop is the best spot to go. Like Cody said, -140-ish. That's a solid spot. But yeah, outside of that, I'm good to just sit back and watch Bobby Greene, go on another 4-fight winning streak here. And hopefully, get a step up in competition. Hopefully he gets a little bit of a fire under his ass to really start to look to finish fights, look to, stamp his approval on these fights rather than just being okay with winning decisions. Right? Even in the Alan Patrick fight, you could make a case that he could have gone out there and tried to finish that fight a little bit more and probably got the finish there. I think I sprinkled a little bit on the round 3 prop for Bobby Greene there because of Patrick's, questionable gas tank, yet he still was not able to go out and do that. So I like Bobby Greene here. I think he's going to win by decision.
There you go. All right. Well, I tell you what, man, I feel exactly the same way. Bobby Greene, a guy that's always been guilty of going out there, kind of pulls some shenanigans. You know what I mean? Kind of goes out there and does some weird stuff at times, and I think that's why he's lost some of these close decisions. Judges don't like the showboating, the weird stuff, the antics, the talking. And I really think it's haunted him. You know what I mean? So, give me Bobby Greene in this one. I feel like if you were to take Thiago Moises, man, you're just really like, you're defying the numbers. I mean, Cody, you talked about these significant strike numbers. It's just ridiculous. Like, how could you ever confidently back Moises here? He either finds that freak sub while probably being dominated thoroughly throughout the fight. I mean, Moises had some KOs, previous to getting to the UFC, but I just don't know, man. It's a tough spot for me. My thing is, I think you guys are right. If you're going to take Bobby Greene, you got to do it by decision prop, right? But from what I'm saying is like, I feel like if you were going to take Bobby Greene, he's probably a good parlay spot. But again, it's the situation, man, where we have so many people priced in a similar area. And Bobby Greene is one of those guys that I swear every time I put money on the guy, I'm screaming at my TV, Bobby, what are you doing? Bobby, just win the fight. You know what I mean? He's a very frustrating dude to back with real money. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. The pick is Bobby Greene, but I like a lot more spots better than Bobby Greene in this one. So that is our first fight of the main card. We are up to Greg Hardy going up against Maurice Greene. Locke, can you start us on this one?
Apologies for that technical difficulty earlier, but we're
You're
back
good, man.
at it
We
here.
got you back in the mix.
All right, so Greg Hardy minus 295. Man, that's interesting. So we have seen Greg Hardy really start to turn the corner now. You know, I mean, we're used to him going out there and just dusting these fools, getting them out there within like 10, 15, 20 seconds. And then he goes out and I believe it was the Ben Sassoli fight where he wants to go out there and be a decision machine now. He's going out there leg kicking dudes and using footwork and trying to be all fancy and crap and trying to like he graded himself. He said he started off as D fighter. Now he's at B. And that's a solid assessment of himself. He's at that heavyweight division. You're able to make these small incremental developments. And given his physicality, given his explosiveness, given his athleticism, he's able to go out there and implement these types of performances. This fight, though, with Maurice Greene is a little bit interesting because Greene throws a little bit more volume than his past opponents. And I think that might get Hardy a little bit more questionable. You know, I mean, like, how is he going to look when he's dealing with guys just continuously throwing a kick at him, throwing it up the middle, throwing leg kicks, the teep to the knee, to the thigh, whatever it is. Maurice Greene is a little bit wacky when it comes to the striking. But the one thing he does have is volume. Unfortunately for Greene, though, he doesn't have the cardio to back it up. Like his ability to sustain that for over 50 minutes is not there. Just as we saw in the Gian Villante fight, the ever shitty Gian Villante fight. I like Hardy to win here, but I think we're going to see him go back to that, like, try to knock you out type of style. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and try to, like, knock you out in the first minute or the first 2 minutes. I think he'll go out there, try to get comfortable in the fight, throw a jab here and there, throw a kick here and there. But once the accumulation of volume for Maurice Greene starts to add up a little bit, I think he's going to start to be like, okay, I got to start putting pause on this dude, and I got to start to try to put him out because this fight's going to be a lot closer than it should be. That's why I'm a little bit skeptical because the one thing that I was eyeing for this fight was the over 1.5. But then when you start to think about it more, what if we just see Greg Hardy just turn that, like flip that switch and just go balls to the wall and try to knock out Maurice Greene after not liking what he's been going through for about 4 or 5 minutes? Now, Maurice Greene, we saw how he looked in that Gian Villante fight, and getting that phantom choke that he was able to get on Gian Villante. That was a thing of beauty. Mwah. I loved it. But Greg Hardy is not going to allow that to happen. I think Greg Hardy is definitely going to have the better cardio here. And if this fight does go late, I could definitely see him putting away Maurice Greene too. But I personally think it's going to be Greg Hardy getting a little frustrated with the amount of volume coming at him early in the fight, and he's going to just put the hammer down a little bit more and really get Maurice Greene out of there. So I like Greg Hardy to win this fight a little bit early. I'm just not so set on the minus 300. Like, he's still a developing heavyweight. You know what I mean? And say what you want about Maurice Greene, but he is a little bit more of a step up than what he's been facing, with the exception of Alexander Volkov. He's a little bit more of a step ahead. Still shit. Let's not forget about that. But I do think that Greg Hardy will get this done early, probably first or second round after dealing with a little bit of adversity. But yeah, minus 300. That him and Dustin Jacoby are like on the lower side of my list in terms of the chalk on this card. But yeah, I still think Greg Hardy gets it done, and I think he gets it done early.
I like it. Guru, let us know.
Yeah, man, I actually like Greg Hardy in this fight. It was interesting at the weigh-ins. I don't know, would he have been the first heavyweight to miss weight for UFC? I don't know. Maybe there's someone else, but I can't remember anyone else.
I think he would have been.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he made it pretty easily. I don't know what he was thinking missing the first time, but he came back and made weight. But I just feel like with this fight, I mean, Greene does throw volume, like you said, but I just not sold on his chin, man. I mean, he's been knocked out in the UFC. He got knocked out in kickboxing before and just doesn't really have great defense. I feel like the speed of Hardy is going to be a big factor. I think he's going to be way faster than Maurice Greene. And I mean, I just feel like he's way more physical, man, more of a fighter. I don't know. I mean, Maurice Greene, man,
is he frozen?
What?
Am I frozen?
I think you're good.
Maybe I'm frozen. That's not good.
I think he's getting the same issues that I was.
Uh-oh.
Back?
There he is.
You good?
Yeah, we could hear you, man. I don't know.
Okay. Go ahead, Guru.
Shit, what was I saying? Yeah.
You're talking about
wipe the mat.
Hardy, baby.
Nah, but yeah, I mean, just to go, I just feel like Greene is just not gonna have the durability or the speed, man. And I feel like, I mean, in the UFC, 3 of his wins have been not guard subs, but subs from bottom, and he has no takedowns. He doesn't really go for takedowns, so I don't really think that Greg Hardy's gonna take him down. I mean, maybe if he drops him and then goes into his guard, Maurice Greene could get a triangle, something like that. But other than that, I do feel like Greg Hardy's a pretty safe play. I mean, even if it goes 3 rounds, I just don't think Maurice Greene is like – I feel like Hardy could win the first 2 rounds and maybe even lose the third round. I just don't think Greene is dangerous enough to get the win. So I got to go with Greg Hardy here. I think he's going to kind of roll this one.
I feel you there. Cody Safdie, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I actually agree almost 100% with Guru. See, it's not the question of could Maurice Greene potentially pull this off over a young, or not a young, but a green and still developing guy in Greg Hardy. Yeah, potentially, but like, how does he get it done? Okay, well, he's got that kickboxing experience. Maybe he goes out and outstrikes him. Knocking him out is going to be one hell of a task because, I mean, he went 3 rounds with Alexander Volkov, a far better, more polished striker than Maurice Greene is. And, I mean, for the most part, he's risk adverse. He's not going out there getting hit. I think one of the big things that Greg Hardy did when he comes into MMA, so I could go out there, I could bomb on these lower end guys, but he goes to American Top Team and the coaching staff right away must tell him, hey, you know what? The best thing you can do is use your athleticism, use your speed. Don't go out there and try to knock these guys out every time out. Listen, he could knock out Alan Crowder. We talk about how good his power is. Alan Crowder took his best punches and was fine prior to him getting himself disqualified. The Ben Sassoli fight, it goes the distance. But beyond that, you see the puffer. Now, that becomes like play number 2 here. ATT probably realizes, geez, this guy probably is asthmatic. And if he goes out and goes balls to the walls for a round trying to get these early knockouts and doesn't get these knockouts, then he's going to fade. So now his game plans revolve around using that massive reach on him. He's 6'5". He has like an 81-inch reach. Use that reach. Stay to the outside. Use your far superior footwork. A lot of these heavyweights, they move so poorly in there. They're very flat-footed. They're very herky-jerky. Greg Hardy is a great athlete. Use all that to your advantage. But they're not telling him, go out there and chase that knockout. If he beats Maurice Greene by knockout, it's because Maurice Greene's tends to finish fights. Either he wins by finish or he loses by finish. But I don't see him knocking out Greg Hardy. So now, what about a submission game? You know what? He did submit Jean Vellante, and he's got that triangle choke over Mario Batista. His submission game is not that bad. Yeah. See, here's the problem with that. In 7 UFC fights, not only has he never completed a takedown, he's never even attempted a takedown in 7 UFC fights. He's a 37-year-old kickboxer who's 6'7". He's not taking down Greg Hardy. This is going to be a stand-up battle. So could he stay from range, try to use his own length, kick, and just try to ever slow slightly outpoint Hardy? Yeah, could be. I'm picking Hardy. Could I see that avenue for Maurice Greene? Sure. But beyond that, the over 1.5 is -125. The fight goes the distance is +205. So Hardy's been to the distance in his last 3 fights, right? And Maurice Greene, I mean, he's losing, but a lot of it's grappling, right? If it's just 2 kickboxers, both long-rangey guys, both guys that don't really particularly love pushing the pace, staying on the outside, jabbing and kicking each other for 3 rounds, entirely possible. We're going to hit that over 1.5, possibly hit that +205 on fight goes the distance, and then the straight-up pick is going to be Greg Hardy. I could see myself adding him to parlays, but like Locke said as well, he's got a Dustin Jacoby vibe to him. He's got this card, everyone in the comment section knows. Everyone on the same page. The 4 of us seemingly are on the same page about every fight. The comment section is on the page about every fight. A lot of my friends I've talked to about this card are on the same fight, but there are going to be guys that are going to blow it.
Oh,
so does Greg Hardy, a heavyweight, very green, has been fighting low-level competition and going the distance with them, could he be the guy to ruin it? Yeah, no, absolutely. I can see it. But if that's the case, if Greg Hardy does shit in my apple pie, those over hits will hit. If Greg Hardy wins, inside the distance. If Maurice Greene wins, it'll be a decision. So I'm going to back myself. I'm going to put Hardy on parlays. I'm going to bet Hardy. And then my backup plan is hit those props as well. So if Hardy wins and he knocks him out, whatever, he's on parlays, he moves on, I'm cool there. If Hardy loses and Greene wins, it's going to be a close decision that they give Maurice Greene. And then I would hit the over 1.5 and the fight goes the distance. But I'm looking at those over props a little more than I'm looking at this matchup just because of the number on it straight up.
Sure. Makes sense, man. Yeah. So I got Greg Hardy in this one. I'm fairly confident, Mo Green's just not a guy that I've ever been high on. He's won some fights, he's lost some fights, but if there's one thing he's never been, it's overly impressive, So is he the more experienced guy in combat sports here? Yeah, he is. Are we seeing Greg Hardy learn on the job? Absolutely, man. When we first saw Greg Hardy bust onto the scene, he was this ex-NFL super explosive guy knocking fools out in 1 minute on the regional scene and even up to the Contender Series scene. We've seen his growth through American Top Team, though. I think they've realized, like you touched on, Cody, this is a guy that probably isn't going to have the gas tank to go balls to the wall 15 minutes of a fight. I mean, he's a heavyweight. What heavyweight does, really? They've reined him in a little bit. He's looked much better. we've talked about the Volkov fight, man. This is a guy who, albeit, was he winning at any point of the Volkov fight? No, but the fact that he could go in there and survive against a guy as good and experienced and dangerous as Volkov, you're telling me Mo Green's going to be able to take this guy out or beat him on the scorecards? I just don't see it, man. I see Greg Hardy probably going in here, putting in some work. I see him landing a hard shot. I see Hardy getting this one finished probably at some point, but I don't know, man. It could end up being one of those slow plotting fights where the guys end up kind of circling, staring at each other, both really tall, really long dudes, might respect the reach from each other. But at the same time, man, very confident Hardy gets it done. I got Hardy parlayed up, and I feel good about him. I'd be very disappointed if Hardy lost this fight to Mo Green. So moving right along, here we go. Short notice replacement. We got Kevin Holland going up against Charlie Ontiveros. And I got to tell you guys what, if there were ever a fight with Saftic, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, only Charlie Ontiveros has been around a long time, and we know exactly what we're getting out of him. He's a BJJ black belt out of Texas, but I mean, he's just it's tough for him. See, on one hand, he's getting his dream, his fight in the UFC for the first time. It's a huge opportunity, even though he's got to whatever they would offer him, he would take it, because otherwise he's not going to get here. Whenever time he's tried to take any type of step up in competition, whether it be the Todd Moore fight, Rashid Abdullah, that was a 3-7 opponent, Jeff Neal, obviously UFC veteran, the Michael Page fight, we all know Michael Page. It's like anytime it's a remote step up in competition, he gets blown out of there. Whenever it's a guy with a losing record who probably shouldn't be in there with him, man, he gets the victory over them. Him stepping in against anybody in the UFC roster on short notice, I would have to go with whoever was fighting Charlie Ontiveros. Now he's getting Kevin Holland. And that's a problem because Kevin Holland, literally all of his opponents are guys that they told him about a week ago. All of his fights. He never gets like an 8-week training camp for any one opponent. He has multiple opponents fall out. He's always a reserve guy waiting on the sidelines. He'll accept whatever. He usually gets like a couple switches. This is not going to phase him. And honestly, he's a much better striker than Charlie. Charlie's going to have to hustle him up to the ground. It's very difficult because Holland's such a big guy. And honestly, this has got earmarked Kevin Holland first round knockout written all over it. But instead of jumping all in and seeming like, oh, wow, it's so easy, is that like Kevin Holland tends to dick around a little bit in there. He tends to take his time. He tends to be a tad bit foolish. And so I don't think that's going to lead to him losing the fight. I don't think for whatever reason he plays around too much, Charlie gets him down and submits him. I just think maybe it would go over one round because he just takes his time. If he goes out there and tries to do what he did against Hernandez, smack him with a side kick to the body, try to pour on a little bit of pressure, he takes Charlie out of there. If he goes out there and dances around and tries to get a feel for it and give the non-existent crowd a good show, maybe it does go over 1.5. But regardless, he's going to take him out inside the distance at some point. Kevin Holland, 750. Short nose replacement, yeah, but short nose replacement I'm very familiar with, and I just don't see him posing any problems to Kevin Holland whatsoever. This probably gets 900 by tomorrow, to be quite honest with you. So it's whether you're going to take it by knockout or you're going to take it by under 1.5. That's like the real question surrounding this one.
Definitely. Locke, what do you got?
When you get a guy that's minus 275 inside the distance, you know what kind of fight we're kind of expecting here. I like how Cody touched on the hesitancy with the over and under 1.5, because Kevin Holland likes to go out there and be the showman. He likes to pull the Bobby Greene a little bit, maybe a little bit more, trying to talk to his opponent, trying to clap his hands and all that type of crap. But then when he really gets it going, the guy is a killer. Like I truly believe he's a very talented guy. And one thing I do want to fact check Cody about regarding Charlie Ontiveros beating guys that have over 500 records. He did lose to a guy named Nikolai Vretenikov, who was 2-3 at the time, where he pretty much he got hit to the body, kind of curled up, and was telling the ref, "I want to stop." And the ref's like, "Nah, keep going." And he just keeps getting pummeled on, and then finally gets dropped, and then the fight stops. But when you see a guy kind of like, I hate ragging on fighters. You got to give them all the respect in the world for stepping in there, putting their bodies on the line, putting their brain cells on the line. But seeing a guy kind of just calling his own fight leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Usually when you see guys get hit to the body, they curl up and they try to turtle up and they try to fight through it. Not with this guy. This guy was like, "Nah, I'm out. Check, please. I don't want to bother with this anymore." And that's the type. Right from that fight alone, I can just kind of tell what kind of guy this guy is. Obviously, going out there getting pretty much one punch knocked out by Will Morris, a guy that was 1-0 at the time. He had him beat by almost 14 fights in terms of experience. Still goes out there and gets rattled with the first punch, and then gets finished a couple seconds later after that. Going out there, his last 2 fights combined 8 and 9 that he's beating. I mean, these guys aren't the greatest. Washington Luis, we've seen him go out there and lose to guys like Anthony Ivy, who hasn't had the best run in the UFC either. yeah, I don't see what Antivirus does that really has me like jumping out there and be like, okay, there's value at plus 500 on this guy. Not at all. Like the only positive I'll give him from what I saw, it looks like he has a decent, not even a decent, like he has a bit of an offensive guard. Like when he does get to his back, like he'll try to throw up a triangle or try to throw up an armbar, but it's nothing that Kevin Holland hasn't seen before. He's getting more high level on the ground as his career continues to go on. Trainer over there with Travis Luter and them. But yeah, I don't see how Kevin Holland loses this fight at all. I hate using the word scrub because I respect fighters so much, but this is as close to a scrub that you're going to get in the UFC. Besides John Phillips, I'm going to miss him. But Charlie Ontiveros is our new John Phillips for however many fights he's going to be in there.
Okay. I just want to throw one quick thing in there because I agree 100%. The difference, though, John Phillips has heart. He lies there, he gets hit insurmountable amount of times, and he takes it. Backing on your thing with Charlie, it's like, oh, he called that fight. His Jeff Neal fight after the second round, the doctor's like, can you continue? And he was like, no. And prior to that, he lost to Rashid Abdullah, who was 3-7 with a rib injury in the third round. Once he ended up on the ground and knew he was going to lose, he was like, I'm hurt. So, yeah, again, he's fighting in the UFC. He's a professional athlete. He's a more man than I am. However, I wouldn't bet on myself either, and I ain't betting on Charlie.
I'm sure he could whoop my ass.
Right. Is he fighting me? I might bet him then. But outside of that, I'm not betting him.
But that's the thing. This is our job. We're sitting here trying to analyze these guys and let the viewers know what kind of fighter to expect when they step into the cage. And you are going to expect a scrub stepping into the cage against Kevin Holland. And I feel so bad for Kevin Holland because during this COVID run, he could have a solid amount of names on his record right now.
Yeah.
But he just keeps getting screwed, man. Trevin Giles and has to go in there and fight Joaquin Buckley, who now is like the belle of the ball because of that crazy kick that he landed. But before the fact, nobody knew who the hell he was. And now once again, he's stepping in against a guy who probably doesn't even deserve to be an LFA, to be honest. Let's get him on blood, beers, and whatever that freaking show was in Alaska. I'm sure NFC is down to get him too. My man Dan Levy's down there trying to call up Charlie Ontiveros after this fight. But yeah, I love Kevin Holland in this fight. I think he truly wins by however he wants to. My skepticism with the over and under as well is whether Kevin Holland's going to go out there and play with his food or not. I wanted to bet Kevin Holland inside the distance, but I was like minus 275. I'm like, all right, we'll talk about that banana peel method that Cody Saftik likes to throw out there. I don't want to bet the minus 275 there. I did parlay him though, just to get a little bit better odds on Adrian Yanez and Tanner Bozer. But yeah, I think Kevin Holland cruises here. I am not missing the chance to fade my guy Charlie Ontiveros. So I'm going with Kevin Holland by destruction. Let's just put it like that.
I feel you. Guru, let everybody know why they got it all wrong when it comes to Ontiveros.
Yeah, man, I don't know if I could do that, man. I'm just like, I was watching a few of his fights. I will say, he looks like he's pretty athletic. Like he in the first round, he'll go for it, and it's like he likes to be the hammer, man. When he can go in there and like run these guys over, he looks like he can be like pretty impressive, have some good finishes even on the feet, but super hittable, and he just when he gets hit, looks like he doesn't want to be in there anymore, kind of looks for the door. And Holland is just way better than him, so I don't think that Ontiveros has much to offer here. Yeah, man, I got to go with Kevin Holland all day, probably by finish. But like they're saying, even at minus 275 inside the distance, I guess you could like put it in a parlay or something, but I don't know how you could play I don't know. It's like short notice fight. Holland's definitely going to win. So, but yeah, the line is crazy.
Yeah. You guys are right. It's, hey, you got brought up a good point, Locke, man. Like Kevin Holland, man, could be putting together like a really respectable run right now over this whole pandemic. But man, he just can't get anybody who's willing to actually get in there and fight this guy. And at this point, they're looking for bodies. And Ontiveros, he's a body. He's a human being. They found somebody willing to get in there and fight Kevin Holland on what? 72 hours notice? Come on. Kevin Holland, one of the most dangerous dudes we got going right now. A guy who seems to be coming into his own. A guy who, yeah, he's guilty of doing some dicking around. He's got a case of the Bobby Greens when it comes to a lot of these fights. But, man, Kevin Holland seems to be putting it together. Dangerous guy, out there taking out Joaquin Buckley, who's going to be, the newest hype darling coming off his big KO in his fight. But yeah, it's Kevin Holland in this one. I honestly don't got much to say about it. Super, super heavy favorite, but my goodness, if Ontiveros wins this fight, it's going to be a shocking upset. Give me Kevin Holland, but what do we do with him at a minus 800? I'm not sure. We dig for the props. Maybe you get Kevin Holland inside the distance. I actually think Kevin Holland's going to go out there and take this dude out. I really don't think he's going to need 15 minutes to do it. Give me Kevin Holland inside the distance, and let's roll on. So we're all the way up to the co-main, and I tell you what, this is an interesting one, man, one that I've thought about quite a bit, and I can't wait to hear your guys' takes. We've got Bryce Mitchell going up against Andre Fili. Cody Safdie, why don't you get us going here?
Okay, I just want to first and foremost say I'm not calling him Chase Hooper. I'm just saying getting some Chase Hooper type vibes as far as the stylistical matchup goes. Listen, Bryce Mitchell's really fun on the ground. He's got the twister. He's aggressive. Once he gets you there, he's relentless with his submission attempts and just overall position. I was really impressed against the Charles Rosa fight because Charles Rosa is a Ricardo Laborio BJJ black belt, and not known for his takedown defense. So Mitchell's able to get him down, and when he does get him down, it's like, man, I mean, positionally, he's very sound. He's very good top pressure, good top control, good at holding guys down. I always call it that, farm boy strength out of Arkansas. Like this guy's strong. He's a good developing prospect. I think that he's going to improve, but he's got to add those other elements to his game. Two of those elements that are going to be huge for him is obviously going to be his wrestling offense because he's got to make sure he's getting these fights to the ground, and his striking. Those two things have not quite caught up to the grappling so far, and that's what's going to be a problem against Andre Fili. Similar to the way that Bruce Leroy, not exactly a great a fighter, not exactly a top contender, but someone who's got skills in all these aspects and is a good veteran. Andre Fili's fought some of the best guys in the sport, ranging from Calvin Kattar. He's been in there with some top names. He's a good wrestler. He's a good grappler. He's a good striker. But beyond that, he's able to put it all together. There's fights that he looks like he's losing the striking exchanges, like the Artem Lobov fight or his last fight against Charles Jourdain, and he'll switch to the grappling. If he's not able to out-grapple you, he keeps it with the striking. He's good at mixing it all together. But his big benefit being at Team Alpha Male is that day in, day out, every day, he's training with these stout, strong power grapplers, power wrestlers. These guys go out there, they try to take him down. Fili's takedown defense, as far as the UFC goes, has been pretty good. Has he been taken down? Yes. But he's generally getting taken down by, better wrestlers, superior wrestlers to Bryce Mitchell. If Bryce Mitchell can't take him down and this ends up being a striking battle, Fili's not really one for the, punching combinations or the power punching, but he's got a good jab, he's got a good kick from the outside, and it's almost just like a point fighting. He just picks up those points. He just racks up those points. Jabs from the outside, feeds you the right hand, gives you the kick, racks up the points. Mitchell not able to take this fight to the ground and ends up having to strike with Fili, then I would have to say Fili. Beyond that, Fili's not really one for finishes. Mitchell looks tough enough. Mitchell, meanwhile, if he does get this to the ground, Fili durable in his own regard. Fight to start round 3, so complete 2 rounds, minus 190. Fight to go the distance, I believe, is minus 140. Again, this is another fight that I can see being competitive. I can see being close. I can see both guys having their moments. I'm ever so slightly going to say that the striking is going to get Andre Fili a close decision, but I'm almost feeling fight goes the distance is the play for this.
There you go. Locke, what do you think, man?
Cody killed it there with that breakdown. He's on point here. I hate being on the underdog when everybody's on the underdog, but this is a solid underdog spot.
No.
I mean, like pretty much everybody on the mother sees this. Bryce Mitchell, he's looked amazing in his last 2 fights. Goes out there and just twists Charles Rosa up in knots. Has that twister finish over Matt Sales, and now he's the belle of the ball. He's the one that everybody's talking about. He's the one getting the camo shorts. He's getting the push from the big man. But let's go back to the Bobby Moffitt fight. Let's go back to the Tyler Diamond fight. Those are much closer fights where you see, when he's actually facing guys that are able to put up a bit of a fight, he doesn't look like a killer. Yeah, you got to take into account improvements, and I'm sure on a fight-to-fight basis, fighters get better. But Andre Fili is like the next step up when guys are really trying to, start to assert themselves in the UFC. And Fili, I don't want to call him a gatekeeper or anything like that, but he is a solid test for guys that are looking to break out and become stars. Now, are the camo shorts going to be worth it for Bryce Mitchell here? I don't know. I think that Andre Fili has a solid spot of keeping this on the feet. The last time we saw him truly tested with his takedowns was Dennis Bermudez, I think 2 years ago now. And Dennis Bermudez just had a really tough time getting him down. I think it was like 1 for 11 on takedowns in that fight. And it really came down to Andre Fili just being the taller guy. Anytime Dennis Bermudez was trying to get him off his feet, he'll just land back on his feet and just stay in the striking area. So it was obviously a very tough fight for Dennis Bermudez there. But what Bryce Mitchell here, he still has work to do with his hands. And I think that's where his demise is going to come, kind of like Chase Hooper. Not to that level. I think he has slightly better striking than Chase Hooper. But I still think he's going to be outmatched with Fili. I think it is a lot of recency bias here with Bryce Mitchell. A lot of people are they have that Charles Rosa match stack in their head, and they're just like, all right, this kid's skyrocketing to the top, and he's going to run through Andre Fili. However, like we've seen Andre Fili plus 140, plus 150 come down to plus 115 because people are starting to believe in Fili and seeing, okay, maybe Bryce Mitchell is just hype. We've had a lot of hype trains derail this year. Edmund Shabazian. I mean, that's the one that comes to mind. And obviously, he's like not like a minus 300 favorite here or anything like that. So the public is starting to, get a little bit aware that Andre Fili actually has the chops to go out there and pull off the upset here. But it doesn't really feel like an upset if everybody's on Andre Fili. You know what I mean? Even as the underdog. So I like Fili here. I think he's going to be able to keep it on the feet. I think he'll be able to, even if he does get taken to the ground, I don't think it's going to be a complete wipeout like most people are thinking it's going to be. Like, he does train with good guys, and like he's still over there with Team Alpha Male and them. He's training with decent guys on the ground. You know what I mean? Solid wrestlers. But definitely if this fight stays on the feet, this is a Fili fight. And yeah, he's not really a finisher or anything like that too. So I'm not really banking on this fight going under 2.5 or anything like that. I do like Fili to get this fight by decision. He is quite durable too. So again, I think if Bryce does get this to the ground, he should be okay. Yeah, he lost to Godofredo Pepe. Shout out to our guy Godofredo Pepe by flying triangle back in the day. Somebody check on Pepe. I don't want to see what that guy's up to now. But Andre Fili should definitely win this fight. I think he's going to just keep this fight on the feet for the majority of it, pick him apart, stay at range. That jab of his is nice too, man. Like, he doesn't stand like a traditional striker. Like, he has his lead hand a little bit low, and then he just brings these jabs up from different angles that really catches guys off guard. And I think he's going to catch Bryce Mitchell off guard with that jab throughout that fight. So I love Fili here. I think he's going to get it done via decision. And that kind of sucks. I'm a Bryce Mitchell fan. Like, I want to see this kid from Arkansas rocket to the top and, get a title shot and all that type of stuff, get his camo shorts and all that. But I need to see more development from him. As a fan, I'm hoping he does develop in this fight. But I think Andre Fili is a little bit too much to bite off at this point in his career. So I'm going to go with Fili to win this fight, and especially at plus money. I like him here. Personally, I'm not a fan of parlaying underdogs, but I did parlay Andre Fili with Alexander Hernandez to get a slightly better price. I got plus 188 on that because I missed a really good line that everybody was hopping on Andre Fili on. But I don't mind plus 188. That's a solid spot there. Plus 115, not too bad. Plus 120 would be nice too. But yeah, I like Fili decision.
Good stuff. Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, man. Like they said, I mean, everyone seems to be on the underdog here. So I'm on Fili too. I think he's going to get the win. And I just, I do think that Bryce is maybe a little bit underrated on the feet. I mean, he's a southpaw and he has some decent kicks. And he did drop who was it that he dropped? He dropped Bobby Moffitt in their fight with that straight left. But I mean, I do feel like on the feet, there's going to be a big advantage for Fili there. And at the weigh-ins, man, I mean, Fili looked pretty big, like in comparison to Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell, and if you listen to his interviews and other fights, like he's talked about how he wants to gain weight and all that. And so I feel like he could probably even be a 135 or potentially. And I do feel like his grappling is a little overrated, man. I mean, if you watch that fight with Charles Rosa, I mean, that was like some horrible fight IQ from Rosa, man. I mean, he every single round, like the first 10 seconds of the round, he would throw these super lazy kicks, spinning kicks, and just get taken down right away. And it's like, I mean, I don't know what he was doing because once it went to the ground, you could see, I mean, Bryce does have one of the better top games in the whole division, and he just dominated Rosa on top, but Rosa just gave him every opportunity to easily take him down. I don't think Fili is going to do that at all. I mean, I think Fili will be predominantly, throwing hands, and when he does throw kicks, I think he'll set him up a lot better than Rosa was. So, and in terms of the wrestling, man, I feel like Fili is a better wrestler than Bryce Mitchell, and we've seen Bryce Mitchell, I mean, you could put him on his back and you could kind of, get him tired in grappling situations. He did get submitted by Brad Katona. I actually felt like in the Tyler Diamond fight and Bobby Moffitt fight, he was slowing down in those fights, but he's the type of guy that's like a maximum effort guy, and that's how he was able to beat Bobby Moffitt, created those scrambles, took the back, and, won that last minute of the fight. But Fili is another guy that's similar. I feel like Fili has like that same kind of mentality, so I don't think he's going to let Mitchell kind of outwork him or out hustle him to a decision. I think he'll be the better fighter and he'll win it too. I mean, I respect Fili a little bit, man, because he came to the UFC really young. He had a lot of setbacks, and he's kind of like been pegged now. Like someone was saying, like he's like a gatekeeper for the top 10, top 15, and he tests these newcomers. But when you listen to his interviews and everything, it seems like he still has that, that hunger and that vigor to, go to the title, and he feels like he still can get there. So it's interesting. And like you guys are saying, he is training with good guys on the ground if he gets to the ground too. He trained with Gary Tonin. So it's kind of funny. I guess it's like the Cold War again, like John Danaher versus Eddie Bravo. So we'll see what happens if it gets to the ground. But Yeah, man, I feel like Fili will be able to just keep it on the feet, maybe even get some late takedowns at the end of the round, maybe try to like demoralize Mitchell a little bit and win a decision here. So I'm going to go with Andre Fili.
Man, I can't believe y'all taking. You're not taking my boy with the camo shorts. He finally got the camo shorts, and we ain't backing him in this spot. Nah, I'm with you guys. I'm taking Fili as well. Bryce Mitchell, man, is a guy that honestly, I've been looking to fade him, and I think we finally got the right spot here. I mean, a guy that 2 years ago lost to Brad Katona, 135-pound Brad Katona, who's no longer under UFC contract. Now, we've seen Bryce Mitchell grow, of course. He's much better now, 26 years old. We've seen quite a bit of development. Looked really good against Charles Rosa, but, man, I tell you what, I'm with you guys. Charles Rosa, man, like, what was that, man? Terrible performance. Andre Fili, team alpha male, wrestlers. This guy has come up under wrestler after wrestler after wrestler, high-level dudes. Is he going to have the takedown defense in this spot? Boy, he better, because if he doesn't, he's going to lose the fight. But I tell you guys what, I got Fili in this spot. Earlier in the week, I thought I was going to be maybe going to be a cool guy taking the underdog here in this spot. Well, I tell you what, everybody who seems to watch tape and know what they're talking about seems to be back in Fili. I'm back in Fili too. I think he's the only underdog I got on the whole card. And at this point, if the money continues to roll in on Fili, he might be the favorite. I was hoping we were going to get a little bit of casual love on the guy with the personality here, Bryce Mitchell, a guy that the UFC seems to want to build, seems to want to get behind, a guy that's, quickly becoming a fan favorite. But when it comes to big boys showing up at the casino and putting that money down at the window, it's been all one-way traffic, baby. Andre Fili is the guy. I got Fili as well. There you go. The four of us, a clean sweep on the underdog. You got to feel pretty good about Fili in a spot like this, don't you? But who knows? Maybe Bryce gets him down, does his thing. I'm not feeling it, though. Give me Fili. I do kind of feel like I missed the boat, though, man. I could have got him at much better odds earlier in the week. Wasn't so sure. Missed my opportunity. Probably going to end up being a pass, but I got Fili winning this one. And there it is. We've done it yet again with our boy, our new guy on the block, MMA LOTN. It's the main event. I'm going to let him kick it off first, man. We got Uriah Hall going up against the legend Anderson Silva. Lock, hit us with that analysis.
Man, when this fight was announced, man, I'm like, okay, Uriah Hall, he's probably going to be my main play for this card. But the more you look into it, man, like a lot of people are discrediting Anderson Silva and saying, okay, the guy's chinny. Okay, let's fact check that for a second. He hasn't been knocked out since he lost to Chris Weidman that first time, turned the world upside down. He had the leg break with Chris Weidman in the rematch, and then he had that leg kick injury finish to Jared Cannonier. But he hasn't really been like knocked out since that Chris Weidman fight. So let's just take that myth out of the equation right off the bat. There are glimpses where you still see him kind of just moving and doing his Anderson Silva type of thing. But my question is here, he's probably not going to be able to sustain that over 25 minutes. Now, the one thing I love about Uriah Hall is that guy's jab is probably one of the most underrated jabs in the game by far, bar none. The guy can bring it up from his hip like a piston. We saw what he did to Paulo Boachinia. We saw him just completely just jab his face off until he finally succumbed to the pressure there. But this might be a better spot for Uriah Hall to go out there and just continuously work behind that jab. I love the fact that he moved down to Fortis MMA before his last fight against Antonio Carlos Jr. We've already alluded to it earlier on the card, I think, with Miles Johns. I love Fortis MMA. I love the guys down there. They're doing big things. And I think this is a perfect fit for Uriah Hall. Even if you look at his Instagram, too, the guy looks really happy down there. He's getting good work down there, too. And his confidence must be building. And that's the main issue with Uriah Hall. It's always been his mental. Like the guy was pegged to be the next Anderson Silva. But mentally, he always was defeated going into fights or in the middle of fights was just giving up. Or, he does pull off miraculous comebacks like the Bevan Lewis fight, the Gegard Mousasi fight, the first one. That was kind of like a Hail Mary one, if anything. But it's still hard for me to trust him at minus 220, even against a 45-year-old Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva, who knows what if Uriah Hall goes in there and he's still in awe of Anderson Silva. This is his idol. This is the guy he's been looking up to. This is the guy he's always wanted to become. Now he's staring across the cage from him. You know what I mean? Like, you got to really look into the mental aspect of this for Uriah Hall. If he's able to overcome that, and I think the best outcome for him would be for him to go out there and knock out Anderson Silva. I don't think anything could be better for his confidence to, go out there, have success for that first round or two, and then finish Anderson Silva in the third. However, I think he's going to be a little bit more tentative. We might see these guys just staring at each other a little bit. Maybe Anderson playing his games, kind of backing up against the cage, telling him to bring on the fight or anything like that. At plus 200, I'm not even willing to put the money on Anderson Silva. It's his last fight. He's proclaimed that. Everybody already knows right away. Red flag. Once people say retirement, it's a red flag. And more often than not, it pays off if you fade the guy that's talking about going into retirement. I still don't know about Uriah Hall here, though, man. The mental game is just so – it's too much for me to overlook here. He should style on Anderson Silva by far. Anderson Silva could be jabbed to death if Uriah Hall truly believes in it. But I'm not completely sold on Uriah Hall here, nor am I sold on Anderson Silva. But I do like the fact that I think that this fight is going to go to a decision. I don't mind the over 4.5. It's at plus money currently. I think these guys are going to give way too much respect to each other. I think they're just going to be staring across the cage, maybe throw a jab here and there, throw some capoeira shit, whatever the hell it is that Anderson Silva wants to do in his last fight. But I think it's truly going to go over 4.5. I don't think either guy's going to knock each other out. I don't think they'll be able to land a clean enough shot to get it. We still see the fast twitch muscle in Anderson Silva at times. Like, he is out there, dodging it, Israel Adesanya's head kicks and stuff like that. Like, he's still doing those small things. But when it comes to an accumulation over 25 minutes, I think we'll see Uriah Hall go out there, put together a better game plan, especially behind Saif Saud and Fortis MMA. I think they'll be able to come up with a game plan to kind of just, cruise to a decision victory here. Nothing crazy. But yeah, I like Uriah Hall. I can't wait to see what Fortis Hall looks like as we continue to move forward. But I do like Hall here, not at the minus 220. If he was closer, like maybe minus 140, minus 150, I wouldn't mind it as much. But minus 200, minus 220, it's a little bit much for me. But yeah, I like Uriah Hall. The over 4.5 at plus 110, I think it is, or plus 105 is not a bad spot either. So if you do want to bet this fight, it's at plus 120 now, so even better. So I don't mind the over 4.5 at plus 120, but I will take Hall to win this fight via decision.
There you go. Guru, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, man. I mean, I know this card's on Halloween, but dude, like betting on Uriah Hall minus 220, that's some scary shit right there. I couldn't bet on Uriah Hall in this fight, man. And I mean, I don't know. Like Manpreet was saying, it's like Anderson. He's still Anderson. I mean, he's 45 years old, but it's going to be something for Uriah to overcome, like mentally. And you already hear him during the week, like he's saying that he doesn't like the media's questions, and he's kind of like it seems like he's I don't know. It's already in his head a little bit, in my opinion. It kind of seemed like it, and I do feel like Anderson versus Izzy, he didn't look horrible. I mean, like defensively, it looks like he's still there. He's still pretty quick and pretty good reflexes. And like if they have that kind of fight, Uriah and Anderson, where they're trading feints and Anderson's able to, taunt, have his hands down and waste a lot of time, like, because I do agree maybe his cardio won't be there the same at like 45 years old, but he kind of, when he does all that stuff, like the taunting, hands down, moving around, he's not wasting any energy at all. He's just kind of showboating, and he can kind of like go the judges into like thinking he's winning the round by doing like really essentially like really basically nothing or like very minimal. So it's like he can kind of extend himself that way. And if Uriah gives him a lot of, respect, and it's kind of just that type of fight, it could be like a super sketchy decision. If you look at Uriah's record in the UFC in decisions, I think he's 2-4 in decisions. So not very good when it goes to the scorecards. And a lot of his fights, he's losing until he wins, and then he'll get a knockout victory, something like that. And like you're saying, I mean, Anderson Silva, he has only been finished that one time with head strikes. Like, he's only been knocked out once. The other two were, leg kick finishes, which, if I'm in Uriah's corner, I would say, like, go after the legs, man, even though, I mean, I don't know, maybe you don't want to, like, send Anderson off like that, but you've already known he has, like, broken legs. He's had ankle issues, knee issues. So, I mean, he doesn't take leg kicks very well at all. And I feel like if Uriah just, you have to respect Anderson a little bit still. He's still a really crafty guy. And, but if Uriah just keeps to the basics, the jab, the low kicks, and, he might be able to mix in some stuff, make it a fun fight, like showboat a little bit with Anderson. But I just feel like maybe at the end of it all, he might be the one that puts out a little bit more and just wants it a little bit more. Anderson with the retirement, being a little older, maybe he'll be, more willing to kind of pass the torch in that 4th and the 5th round and give it to Uriah. So I'm going to say Uriah wins like a close decision, but I mean, I could see Anderson winning the fight too. I really could. So yeah, I'm not confident on this at all.
I tell you what, man, Cody Saftik, give us some confidence in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a time for a 45-year-old Anderson Silva to pull off a win in a UFC main event, I think it would be on Halloween. I mean, we've seen crazy things happen, we've creepy things happen, but yeah, if his name's not Anderson Silva, I struggle to find how he even comes to this price point. I mean, listen, his recent body of work has just not been pretty at all. You go back to the Jared Cannonier fight, his leg just gives out. I mean, couple leg kicks, he topples right over. That's interesting because that fight's 3 months after the Israel Adesanya fight. And if you remember, Adesanya's got so much respect for Anderson Silva that he opts to not punch him in the head. He pretty much just kicks the leg. And he just kicks the leg, does enough to just make sure that he's winning the fight, winning the rounds, but doesn't want to hurt Anderson. The leg is now 3 months later, maybe compromised from that, and it blows out against Cannonier. Now, 45 years old, it's not getting any better. I think the oldest guy to headline a card would be Dan Henderson when he fought Michael Bisping. He was 46 years old. But you just see how much like damage a career of activity has just worn on these guys. Khabib Nurmagomedov, everyone's saying the GOAT, greatest of all time. He just retired from the UFC. He's 32 years old. Anderson Silva got signed to the UFC. He was 32 years old. So all the magical moments of Anderson Silva that you remember were technically him on the back nine of his career. But the guy just keeps going. He's addicted to fighting. He's addicted to the adrenaline. He snaps his leg, and yet he's headlining against Nick Diaz 8 months later. Like the guy, this is what he's all about. But you got to look at the recent body of work. He didn't look good against Cannonier. Israel Adesanya took it easy on him. The Derek Brunson fight, he got outstruck and taken down. Should have lost that decision, but they gifted it to him. The Daniel Cormier fight, again, takes on a short notice. Cormier doesn't want to hurt the old legend, so they just have a kind of more of a sparring session, so to speak. Michael Bisping put an absolute beating on him. He put a beating on Michael Bisping, too. It was a really good fight. But, I mean, just like going tit for tat, and he loses that. Prior to that, he breaks his leg against Chris Weidman. He's knocked out by Chris Weidman. And then his last bona fide win is when he knocked out Stephan Bonner with the knee to the body 8 years ago. I mean, his run from 38 to 45 has not been pretty. It's not been getting any better. And this is a card, I find this super interesting, right? This is why it goes back to name. You look at this card and you think, Bobby Greene. Bobby Greene opened at minus 170. He's now a 3-1 favorite. Alexander Hernandez opened up at minus 240. He's now a minus 410 favorite. Yanez, steam. Sean Strickland, not so much steam. Dustin Jacoby, minus 170 opener. Currently sitting 355. Almost everything in this card got steam. And yet Uriah Hall, fighting a 45-year-old man who's already announced his retirement. There's just so much damage. Who hasn't won a fight clean in 8 years. No, like money's really coming in on him. Everybody is weary that some shit might go down. And I think why that is, and I'll just wrap this up quickly and we can move on. But I think why that is that Hall's going to show him the same respect that Cormier showed him. He's going to show him the same respect that Izzy showed him. He's a respectful guy, and Anderson Silva is a guy that everyone's been drawing these comparisons for him. But he's also a really low-volume guy to begin with. I mean, as Guru touched on, you think he's winning the Bavon Lewis fight? No, he's down 2 rounds. You think he's winning the Christoph Jocko fight? No, he's losing. He just doesn't do anything. He stays in these spots, and he just does the bare minimum, but then eventually catches you with some eye-catching shot, like the Gegard Mousasi fight. There's just like a whole career of that, just two-way lackadaisical. If Anderson even just goes out there and they have a sparring type session where they're going tit for tat, it's a slower paced fight, who's to say it's not going to be another Brunson type decision where you know what, Anderson Silva is a hero to all of us. He's the Michael Jordan of the sport. He's announced his retirement. It's his last fight. I'm going to give him the close rounds. And with Uriah Hall, he could go out and win on the basis of the leg kick and the jab. But if we don't believe that he's going to go out there, and you know what, I want to give the fans a show. I don't want to just go and kick out his knee and then beat him like Jared Cannonier over in the first round. No, the people paid money. The people want to see a good fight. I'm going to showboat. I'm going to throw some spinning techniques. I'm going to do the old Anderson Silva where I run up to the cage and I wave him on. Like, don't mess around with him, dude. Don't mess around. Go out, kick his compromised leg, jab him, use your way significant speed advantage and defeat this man. And I think he will defeat this man. But he's going to make it harder on himself than he probably needs to. So official pick is going to be Uriah Hall. But yeah, it's so crazy. Last week, I think every single favorite hit, right? Was there a dog that hit last week?
It was every favorite. I think Rob, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So Rob Whittaker, who was the favorite and ended up going off as the underdog maybe, is the only one that hits. This week, I'm hoping every single favorite hits except for Andre Fili. I hope that's the one dog of the week. But when you talk to people, it's like, well, what dogs do you like on this? I have heard a few people be like, Anderson's worth a look. It's like, is he? Or do we just go back to, guy used to be so badass that maybe he pulls out some magic one more time? I don't know. Uriah, honestly, probably looked better against Antonio Carlos Jr. than he has in any other fight because he didn't get the finish. He actually had to persevere. And that was his first camp at Fortis. I know he's 36, but I'm going to say he's got a little more left in the tank, and I'm going to go with Uriah Hall.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I tell you what, Cody, I think you used the exact word, and Guru, you did too. Weary and scary. This fight makes a lot of sense to be a headliner on Halloween because it's very dangerous matchup. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I'm getting very similar feelings as I think you guys are that, Uriah Hall might go in there and it might be one of these. I mean, we've seen Anderson Silva fights play out like this before where guys end up looking at each other. I'm thinking about when Nate Diaz, laid down and took a little rest and a breather, and said, come on, let's go. I mean, a lot of these Anderson Silva fights, he's such a talented counter striker. They kind of turn into staring contests. You know what I mean? And over 5 rounds, a 45-year-old dude against a 37-year-old dude, I'd be talking about how old Uriah Hall was if he wasn't fighting a 45-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So I got a feeling this fight could end up being I don't think it's going to be too action-packed. I think we're going to have some flashy moments, but I could see this being a very slow pace, a very low pace, very low output, and we just see two guys very respectful of one another. And if it goes to the scorecards, I could see the judges going, you know what? That was a close fight. Hall probably did better, but let's send off the 45-year-old legend off on a W. You know what I'm saying? We've seen stuff like this happen in the UFC. Now, am I going to take the 45-year-old legend? Nah, man, I got to use common sense here. I got to take Uriah Hall, but my goodness, Uriah Hall, this guy comes with a freaking disclaimer every fight. You guys have no idea how many fights where I've been confident Uriah Hall is going to win. He goes out there and loses. I say to myself, oh, man, Hall, there's no way he's going to be able to beat a guy like Gegard Mousasi here. Spinning back kick to the face. You know what I'm saying? So Uriah Hall, just a really wishy-washy kind of guy. Anderson Silva, it's been like 8 years since this dude's won a convincing fight. It just has not been pretty. But what do you expect out of a 45-year-old fighting in the UFC middleweight division? I mean, it's loaded with killers. It is what it is. Should he have got out the game sooner? Maybe, probably. But here he is. We got to respect him having the balls to get in there against a guy theoretically as dangerous as Hall. The pick for me is Hall, but we have so many other betting spots here. Cody, like you said, man, why aren't we seeing that money roll in on the favorite Hall here? It's because we're all worried, man. We all see how this fight could play out. Makes sense to me. Hall is the pick, but a total and absolute pass. And that's it, folks. That's the whole show. You've seen it. The final weigh-in. We've got our new guy here, MMA LOTN, Cody Saftik, prediction guru. I'm going to throw it around the horn so you guys know where to find these cats every day of the week. Guru, let them know.
Yeah, man. If you want to find me on YouTube, just type in MMA Prediction Guru. You'll find my channel, and then Twitter, it's Prediction MMA. Hit me up if you want to, talk fights or anything. And yeah, man, I just want to say it was fun doing the first show with Man Preetman. It's a good crew here, so hopefully we can keep rocking. And we had some pretty decent numbers again today. So thanks for always supporting. And yeah, man, good show.
Absolutely, man. If you haven't yet, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to Odds HQ. Cody Saftik, let them know where you're at.
Yeah, you can definitely always catch me on Twitter at CJ Saftik. I'll always be around. And yeah, it looked like a good Bellator card last night. There's an LFA card currently. Joe Giannetti swept me with that triangle. Hopefully that's
I was looking at that when you guys were doing your breakdowns. I was like, fuck, I was about to lose this money.
I was thinking the same thing. I was just like, come on, baby, come on. Anyways, you guys know me. I'm a huge fight fan. So if you got any questions, I'd always love to chat anything with you guys over at Twitter. Give me a shout. And then, yeah, same thing. Actually, when I first met Manpreet, everyone called him Franchise. I didn't know him as MMA Law. I didn't even know his name was Manpreet. Everyone was like, franchise. And I was like, franchise picks. Like, that's a built in himself. But he's gotten locked. He's done a fantastic job. And it's really cool that things are kind of come full circle and I get to work with him again. So welcome to the show, buddy. You did an awesome job. And let's just hope these favorites all hit. We all look good because we're all on the same page. Make a little bit of money, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. And the new guy, you've done a great job, though, man. Phenomenal debut, if I can say so myself. MMA Lock of the Night. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, it was a fun show. It feels like I always see Saftik all the time now, so it's great to chop it up with him and you guys as well too. It's been great. Odds have been great as well too. You guys can find me personally at MMA LOTN on Twitter. The YouTube channel also is MMA LOTN. I look forward to doing this every Friday, man. You guys are killing it, and I'm having a ton of fun doing this. And I may have actually talked myself into a bet during this stream as well too. So it's giving its benefits as well, as long as it cashes. That's the thing. So really looking forward to doing this every Friday. You guys are great, and the guys in the comment section are killing it too. It's really, really fun. So shout out to everybody, and once again at MMA LOTN. On Twitter is where you can find me, and I'm highly interactive, and you guys can chop it up with me there as well too. So appreciate you guys giving me the platform.
Absolutely. I've been your host, Bleed, of Just Bleed MMA right here on YouTube. Hit 1,000 subscribers today. That's in part a lot to you guys watching. Thank you guys so much. Head on over there, hit that subscribe. You can get earlier takes, my picks earlier in the week. We usually do a good job of beating the line movement. I give you a far more in-depth take on how I feel about these fights. I'm the host of the show. I try to keep things brief after these guys pretty much dissect the fight every which way. But if you want to get on that, go ahead, man. You can catch me on Twitter, Instagram. You can find me on all that stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you to Odds HQ, odds.com. It's another week. We'll catch you next Friday, baby. Best of luck. Let's make that money. Let's have some fun. Enjoy the fights, everybody. We're out.